Alright, that's enough of that. Yeah, so I don't really know why I played Ode to Joy, Beethoven's whatever symphony. Because I think we could all use a bit of cheering up. We of course all know what happened on Tuesday. We had been building towards this and getting excited for months now. There's not going to be the classic five in the chamber and a classic opening of the show, because I do think we need to talk about some stuff and just get some stuff out there, Yeah, we've been building towards this for months, getting excited for months now. We could all watch all of the analysis we could possibly stomach and shoved even more down. The votes were cast. And you know what? We lost. We failed. We didn't get what we wanted. And quite frankly, I am disgusted. I am utterly and completely disgusted. What happened on Tuesday was an absolute utter disgrace for this country. Those who voted for this failed this country. It makes me sick to even think about, but we tried. We really, really tried, and it just wasn't enough. Sometimes it's not. And I'm sad. I am sickened. I am scared. And quite frankly, I am pissed. I'm just pissed. I mean, how the hell are you going to rank BYU above Notre Dame in the college football rankings? It's ridiculous. They have no ranked wins. They are a completely fake scam trash team. I mean, I thank God that Iowa State finally was exposed for the shit they are last weekend, but this just takes it to a whole other level of bullshit. Indiana, let's look real quick. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to zoom in on that for me, and probably you guys too. Look at this. Oh, that didn't help at all. Wow. Yeah. Fuck it. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Look at this shit. Oregon, that makes sense. Ohio State, fine. Georgia, yeah. Miami, I don't think they played anyone good. Texas, I think move them into Miami spot. Penn State, don't even get me fucking started on Penn State. It is ridiculous. They barely beat Bowling Green or a trash USC team, and they are consistently overrated every year. They always meet someone who's way better than them and get their asses kicked. It's ridiculous. They do not deserve to be ranked that high. Every year, those kid diddlers are ranked above their pay grade, and it keeps happening. Oh, let me get rid of this. Sorry. Didn't know that was up there. And believe me, I know what you Notre Dame haters are going to say. Oh, Evan, what about, they lost to NIU. I see your point. I really do. Counterpoint, though, mulligan. We get one mulligan every season. That is college football law. I believe it was implemented in 1978 when USC lost to Michigan State, and they just said, you know what, we don't call it, right? Mulligan. I think that's completely fair. Anyway, what'd you guys think I was talking about? What else happened on Tuesday? I don't know. Question of the day. How awesome is it to be an American right freaking now? Let's play the music. If it'll play. I clicked the wrong timestamp. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. All right, Beethoven. Sorry. I have like 15 different timestamps on this bitch. Celebrate, ladies and gentlemen. We fucking did it. Wait, hold on. Listen to the music. Let me get my hat. There we go. There we fucking go. Vastimo destringen. I know Beethoven's 8th, 5th, 9th. I don't know. It's Ode to Joy, the one the Germans did. There we go. You know why I'm playing that song? You know why I'm wearing this hat? Because Donald effing Trump was elected president of the United States on Tuesday night, technically Wednesday morning. This is being filmed the Thursday night after that. And it's insane. I bought this hat right here, back in late November of 2016 after he won the first time. I remember exactly where I was. I was laying on my bed with my crappy little school computer plugged into the TV with an HDMI cord watching Steven Crowder's all-night live stream. It was a blast. I thought he was going to get his ass kicked. Everyone did. It was a great night. 2020 didn't go so well. I'll be honest. I was iffy on how this year was going to go. But you know what? We freaking did it. We freaking did it. All of you who voted, you did it. I personally convinced a few people to do it, so, Don, you want to thank me. That it'd be nice. I don't need it because, real heroes don't actually need the thank you. Clara, come here. Clara, come here, girl. You want to be on the podcast? Come here. Look, Clara voted for Trump. Clara is not upset at all that her supposed reproductive freedoms are being taken away. Because, first of all, she's a dog, and it's not really a thing with them. Second of all, she understands that life begins at conception, and there's more to stake at this election than not murdering babies. Right, Clara. Right, puppy. All right. Yes, I will be doing a deep dive into the election later in this episode with Stefan. He's been on the show before. British guy. He doesn't really have a stake in this, but he kind of does because America controls everything. And in my opinion, Britain and the rest of Europe after World War II should essentially just be Roman-esque vassal states who pay service to us, pay us taxes, and occasionally women. But yeah, and Tech Guy on Sunday, well, that won't release Sunday, it'll release next week. I'll be doing a rundown with him and probably Kenny as well. I suspect the beginning of their stream is just going to be dangling legs, especially Tech Guy. I don't think he took it that well. Okay, so having said all that, I did prepare an official statement regarding this election. It's on my phone, and because look, we're going to have some fun today. Of course we are. Why the hell wouldn't we? But in the spirit of fairness, I do feel like I need to just make this statement to make it fully clear where I stand. So here we go. If you will let me just read this word. Adjust the glasses. Ha 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 ha. Na 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 na. La 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 la. This is a mature show, ladies and gentlemen. That fart noise could have been longer. You're welcome. This is only highbrow stuff here. Alright, so, like I said, no 5 in the chamber because there's not really bigger news than that. Again, other than the trash college football rankings. Yeah, Clara, get away. I'm doing the show. So, but, luckily for you guys, I did prepare something. I spent the past, basically all day, scouring Twitter, and not just Twitter, finding the perfect liberal meltdown videos. At the end of it is some heartwarming stuff. It's some Trump celebration stuff. I think we all need this. You'll laugh. You'll get emotional. I know I did. It's about 20 minutes long. Feel free to skip ahead. I will post it separately, but here it is. Here is your 2024 election reaction compilation. Let's go. And there we go.
All right, guys, it's time to go to bed. None of us are stressed about the election, right? We all are gonna just go have the best night's sleep of our lives, aren't we? When did it end? All the enjoyment, I'm sad. When did it end? All the enjoyment, I'm sad again.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done.
I'm glad we can call people like this a faggot again. At least another 4 years.
It's not gonna happen.
Go, Kamala.
That's the blood of children.
Guys, we literally don't even have to panic. We literally don't even have to freak out right now. We don't even have to fucking, we don't have to freak out. We don't have to freak out because it's not even real. Because, bitch, recount the vote!
Guys, I just voted, and I chose family. Let's end this reign of terror now. I chose family, I chose women, I chose America. I love you.
But he will get cheaper Vagisil, so thank Trump for that one too.
I love all of this. Let's do it. Let's do this.
We were wrong. It's an utter betrayal. for anybody that is not a cisgendered white Christian. If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other
It's
than
the
Kamala,
secretary
and
from
you
Monsters,
and
Inc.
you live in one of the states that it was, you know, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you.
Mike Wazowski.
Fuck you. I don't want to hear about how shitty your life gets.
Not a single woman so far in this video has to worry about ever having an abortion.
Live with that decision. Sit with it. Let it.
I do, and I love it. It's the best decision I've made.
Fuck you.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
Not again.
No, he did not. Stop running them. Your boyfriend's a girlfriend. Oh, this guy again. Didn't know I had him twice. Can we put him on the first catapult back to Mexico?
If you sat there and you voted for Trump, a felon, over Kamala because she was a woman, you're disgusting.
It's not because she was a woman, it's because she was a cunt. Another word we can say.
Too busy helping themselves. They aren't gonna change this. We gotta do it ourselves. They think that it's over, but it's just begun. Only one thing can save us. Only the young. Only the young.
Her dad still hasn't come back from getting milk.
Only the young.
Guys, how the fuck are we back here again? How the fuck are we back in this same situation again? Who the fuck is voting for him? Genuinely.
I don't know what you expected us to do.
Oh, God. Poor dad.
What was I made for? 'Cause
That and stress eating.
Somebody please let me know when the blue starts to shift. When does the blue start to shift? Somebody let me know when the blue starts to shift, please.
Again, all of these women are gross. There hasn't been one hot one. You'll see a lot of hot ones when we get to the pro-Trump stuff.
Fucking day. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm so pissed off. Fuck.
The perfect. That's got to be a bit. That's a bit.
Damn it.
I hate to be the person that gets on here and cries, but this could break me and my parents apart because they just don't understand what they voted for and like what it means and the bigotry and hatred that they stand behind and how I like am trying to be a good person. I'm not Catholic like they are, which is ironic because it's like religion's supposed to make you love, but I could see it like breaking me and my parents apart because they just don't get it, and they don't get that they voted for someone who's gonna make my friends' lives
Keep their grocery bill down.
My life's okay.
Because you're trying as hard as you
I'm a
can.
white woman, but my friends are not gonna be okay.
What do they think is going to happen? Like, I've gotten no call from Trump to, start construction on any camps yet. Might, I don't know.
America is full of idiots. The dumbest people in the whole world. What is wrong with you? What is happening? Understand why we can't have a female president. Like, why not? Like, how much more qualified?
You will one day, and her name is Tulsi
intelligent
Gabbard,
and, like,
and you're going to like it.
perfect for the position do we have to be? Like, why? Why? Alright, guys, it's time to go to bed.
No,
None
crap,
of
heard
us
ya.
are stressed about the election, right?
I may have accidentally doubled up on a lot of these.
We all are gonna just go have the best night, the best
To be
night's sleep
fair,
of our lives,
there's a lot of
right?
gross women bitching tonight.
I need a collective group hug. I'm about to start screaming like Sarah Paulson and Colt from American Horror Story.
Cause I don't know how to feel, but I want
the girl to bawl my eyes out over an election, but I bawled my eyes out over this one. I'm disgusted. I'm disappointed. I am angry, but I'm here to remind you that there are still good people out there. There are good people who wanted to see change, who care about you, who love you, and who will fight for your rights. The work does not stop. We are not hopeless, and we have to love each other and continue to do work in our communities. The fight is not over. It will never be over, but I'm sending so much love, and just feel whatever emotions you need to feel, and then we have to get to work.
266. I'm physically going to be ill. 266. What in the Alice in Wonderland nightmares is going on right now?
and I'll be in denial for at least a little while. What about the plans we made?
This is the biggest red wave I've seen since Ronald Reagan's 49-state victory.
There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country.
I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy.
I hear what you're saying, and I do see it differently because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite, who are hurting tonight.
If she were a 6'4" white man from Arkansas or from, Florida, do you think she would be losing by that much?
Thank you, gay Matthew Perry.
Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny.
There are African American women who know a little bit about being talked down to, and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who try to dream
talked down to by cunts like you who say they're too dumb to use a computer.
To get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy.
There's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men.
Mm-hmm.
It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men.
I don't know what
Tonight
sickle
they're
cell
trading
is,
in a
but
lot
that
of
guy
hope
has it.
for a lot of hurt. And they were hoping that maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy.
Things we've all been talking about, who do not want a
I feel
woman
like I need to give
leading them.
money to these people.
Might be race issues
Get some Sarah
with
McLachlan on there.
Hispanics. They don't want a
couple
black
bucks in.
woman as president of the United States.
To all the pollsters, the
Oh, hey, it's the
election
hack.
pollsters.
He used to be funny. Now he's a
me.
dick.
I don't ever want to from you again, ever.
People who said that he was a Hitler lover weren't Democrats, they were Republicans. People who said that he was a fascist weren't Democrats, they were
I'm sorry. No. Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Yes.
Hope your day gets better.
I love that one.
Positive energy.
Asshole. All right, so that was hilarious. Had a good time doing that. I think it's time we, watch our people have a good freaking time. How about that? Let's go back to it. Oh, wait, there we go. Oh.
Why?
Florida.
Why?
Had to.
Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Yep.
Hope your day gets better. Positive energy.
Double it down. That's great.
They say they mad Trump won. They say, why you vote against your interests? You're black. Why'd you vote against your interests? No. Look, word to my mama, right hand to the stand. I'm raising up my son to be a boy to a man. Oh, that's transphobic. They gon' say they feelings hurt. But I can't tell my son that it's cool to rock a skirt. That's facts. And then they say we ain't going back. How's that? All the evil's finna get exposed. Ask cat. They tried to muzzle me, but I'm a lion, not a puppy. Industry tried to snub me cause I don't party with puppies. My body is a temple. They screwing on your body while they messing up your mental. And Kamala was not presidential. That's why she kept all her real plans confidential.
Nessa Carey on TikTok. Follow her. She's actually really talented.
My choice. Men need to yell my
Not bad
pockets,
looking
my
either.
choice. Cause why do only women get a say? But for 18 years, force a man to have to pay. That's crazy. I thought this was the home of the free and the brave. When every day they trying to censor me. How, sway? And then we try to cancel the facts. We stand by Janet. No, that lady not black. Y'all can't cancel black royalty. Is you dumb? That lady say she finna come and take all our guns. When I just copped the chopper and it sound just like a drum. Intruder come inside, they hit, put it up a thumb. Yeah, I got an itch and need to protect my seed. Oh, she the new way? That's just a feeble. I heard her say she ain't doing nothing for black people. She was finna trade on y'all like Cain to done Abel.
It's Cardi B with the
We
right
stand
amount of
by Janet,
chromosomes.
know that lady not black. The truth is we can't let y'all alter the facts. A woman is an adult human female, that's facts. The truth is the truth and the facts is the facts. And that's why I voted for Trump, and Trump is my president.
There we go.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need.
I had fun making this part of the compilation. It was just fun. People having fun. It was joy.
There's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And I'm sure you will find many ways.
I will say this though, Trump very clearly dances like a fat guy.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for your mental joy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
Look at this. And the women are hot. Conservative women are hot. I believe that's, Liberty University says it on there. 98% of them voted for Trump at that college. Amazing. That's at Trump Tower, New York. I've been there.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who
More
gave
hot women.
that right to
Because again,
me. And I gladly
conservative
say
women are hot. It's the mindset.
to you, and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no
Self-reliance,
doubt I
physical fitness.
understand. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA.
That's a man who's very happy he's not going to Ukraine or Iran. I was even doing the dance in the movie. It's funny. Yeah, this is in a military barracks when I found this video. Again, that's another large group of men who are very happy they are not going to die. God bless them. It makes you feel good, it really does. This is the actual Trump campaign in like the main building when it was announced. So there we go. That was it. That was a little over 20 minutes. And I think all of that said a lot. I think Tuesday night that was a moment. Well, of course, it was a moment in history because he's the first president since Grover Cleveland to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, and Trump's is way different than that. It's the greatest political comeback in history, I'd say. I mean, that's Sauron losing in Return of the King, the Eye of Sauron falling over, the Tower of the Eye. That's the Death Star getting blown up twice, 3 times actually, well, 4 times technically. Those shit. Last 3 movies. That's Thanos getting dusted. That's Voldemort dying. I haven't seen Harry Potter. You get the reference. That was an epic win over the absolute evil that the left has become. Tuesday night, November 5th, is a night you will always remember where you were. That is one of those moments in history. I've spent the last 2 days just like almost constantly refreshing Twitter because it's history. You cannot look away. Like, you physically can't. It's amazing. In the last video especially, that's the entire Trump campaign standing around singing Then Sings My Soul, where he's had at a Kamala Harris rally, had 2 people yell Christ is Lord. They got kicked out, and she said, "You're at the wrong rally." That moment, I think she lost the election. There's a lot of points you would probably say that, like, Trump surviving a freaking assassination attempt, clearly being one of them, but again, Trump's not a perfect guy. I understand that. He's done a lot of bad stuff. Who hasn't? But at the end of the day, my view of all this stuff is kind of very Tolkien-esque. He said that, even though Sauron was defeated, evil itself wasn't. There's always going to be evil in the world. And the good can have these kind of small, even large defeats over it, but ultimately it marches on and will continue to get worse until, its final defeat at the hands of Jesus Christ. That is my opinion on what just happened here today. I think, well, not today, Tuesday. I think this was a defeat against an actual evil. I think the country completely rejected progressive leftivism, and I think it's going to be a good time for a little bit, I guess. The left clearly freaking out. There's been a lot of people on the left also saying, you know what? You won this presidency. You have the Supreme Court. You're probably going to get 2 more justices during Trump's tenure. And you got the House. Pay up, prove you can do what you said you're going to do. And you know what? Fair enough. Game on. All right, so we've had some fun, and but it is time to get down to business, as they say. So let me turn this hat backwards. I don't like that look. It's stupid. So as we all know, Trump has successfully been elected, and we can finally pull the rug out and admit that Project 2025 was, of course, 100% real. I know we all said it's fake. I know we all said Trump had nothing to do with it. He did, of course, and we all knew that. Excuse me. I've drank 2 beers and it's just coming back up. I'm having a good time. This is probably one of the most fun I've ever had doing a show. Gonna have a lot more fun later because I have friends coming on. It's gonna be fun. No, but Project 2025, 100% real. It was all bullshit. And after the 2020 loss, every conservative got together. They rented a ballroom of a Hilton, worked this out, and we all agreed to keep it a secret. A lot of people knew that. You knew that. We all knew that. Your worst fears are true. Whatever the worst thing you think Project 2025 is going to do, it's going to do. All of it. And I thought it could be fun to kind of go through and discuss what my personal favorite initiatives of Project 2025 are, and what are the most exciting, just so we can all be prepared. So here we go. On day 1 of Project 2025, Canada will be conquered and its population subjugated. Maybe enslaved is probably a better term. Max Mayer on X has done probably the most thorough analysis of the operation to invade Canada that I have ever seen, and it's huge, it's long, so I won't go through it on here. I very much recommend you go look at it. I think I retweeted it on my page. But all of Canada will be conquered and renamed East Alaska and West Maine. We will split it up. Except, however, for Newfoundland and Quebec, who I am certain we can fund insurgency operations in. We will spare them from invasion, but they will continue on as semi-independent vassal states. They will tithe liquor, maple syrup, and women. I would say hockey players, but they don't really produce many good ones anymore because we send in like the 80s, we sent all of our good hockey players up to Canada, and then they came back down here, trained a bunch of people down here. So now the U.S. is like the hockey powerhouse. Russia did something similar, worked for like 10 years in the 90s, but then it just kind of fizzled out. From what I have read and heard, Justin Trudeau, if he survives the chemical, biological, and nuclear attacks on Ottawa, will be taken alive to serve as Donald Trump's personal concubine, which I am fully in support of. Good luck, Mr. Trudeau. Number 2. And this one's going to upset some people, but I think in the long run, it's good. Under Project 2025, women will no longer be classified as human beings. As punishment for your insolence against His Excellency, all women in the United States will be relegated to Handmaid's Tale status. You will no longer work or go to school, and you will be freed from the burden of choice. Your husband will decide what clothes you wear, when you will ovulate, and what sandwich you will make him: turkey, roast beef, or bologna. No ham. Ham does not belong on a sandwich. Weird opinion. Makes sense, though. Except honey ham, I do like that. Cherrywood, I'd kill everyone on earth for some cherrywood ham right now. If you do not have a husband, you will be assigned one by the heir to the Golden Throne, His Majesty Baron Trump, first of his name, Prince of the Imperium of America, and impregnator of Harry Sisson. I, for one, very much look forward to meeting my Project 2025 assigned wife, or wives, depending on what the great prince decides to grant me. You will be loved, you will be treated fairly, but strictly. Abortion will be completely outlawed. After you reach the mandatory minimum of 10 children per wife, all surplus offspring will be taken by the army of the new global crusade, where they will be raised, trained, indoctrinated, and eventually turned into something akin to a space marine a la Warhammer 40k. I recommend you look that up for context. They will spend the rest of their days burning heretics and destroying all enemies of the Emperor King, formerly known as Donald Trump. Number 3. Under Project 2025, all McDonald's will be required to have working ice cream machines 24/7, and all stores will be required to be manned all hours, all days. Yes, this does include all holidays. The Emperor's hunger is unpredictable and insatiable, and the staff of any McDonald's that does not comply will be given to Elon Musk to do with as he pleases for his various experiments. Under Project 2025, this is number 4, sorry. Under Project 2025, all major movie studios, Disney, Universal, etc., will be brought under control of the U.S. government and reformed into the Department of Entertainment and Revelry, headed by Zachary Levi and Mel Gibson. Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams will be publicly flogged for their destruction of the Star Wars IP and frozen in carbonite until just before the moment when the sun swallows the earth, so that they may see their littleness. A just punishment, in my opinion. And finally, number 5. Under Project 2025, a program headed by Robert F. Kennedy will declare everyone with a body fat percentage, barring legitimate medical problems such as thyroid issues, something like that, above 25% as inhuman. These inhumans, subhumans if you will be sent to work camps where they will eat a carnivore diet and receive mandatory training / indoctrination from Dr. Jordan Peterson. Training will include learning how to make your own bed, clean up your room, stand up straight with your shoulders back, read 12 rules for life and beyond 12 rules for reference on what you can expect if you are one of these subhumans. Those who cannot or refuse to reach this goal will be fed to the Emperor King's personal menagerie of captive exotic animals. That does include concubine Justin Trudeau. And that is just the start, of course. There is much more to Project 2025 that will be revealed in the future, but this is just a taste of the glory to come. It will be great. It will be fantastic. And you know what? You will still have choice. Of course you will. You will have the choice between, voting for Donald Trump or being eaten. It's a perfect system. Matt Walsh did a whole thing where he was it was hilarious, actually. He did a whole thing. It's like, Donald Trump will not be a horrible dictator. He will be a good dictator. It was incredibly condescending and just mean and brutal, and I loved every second of it. Go find that on Twitter. It's hilarious. All right, so next up we have an interview with Stefan. We are going to get his perspective. We're going to dispel some rumors about what is coming up in a slightly less but still definitely condescending way. I will see you over there. Have a good one. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Unorthodox podcast. I have no idea when this will be released. Maybe this week, maybe the week, 2 weeks after the election. Maybe, you know what, fuck it, topical. I might just release it. Very, very topical. Yeah. Although, probably it might release tomorrow, from my perspective. I'm going to stop talking. I'm rambling right now. Yes. So, as we know, Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. Most likely, if barring shenanigans. But last week we had
that's what's gonna happen, honestly. Yeah. But I have no idea what would happen that would stop it at this point.
There's been a lot of people saying the election's stolen, but we'll get to that. It's quite funny. No, but yes, not in studio is Tech Guy. You saw him last week. Kenny cannot be here. We'd like to offer our condolences to his family. We tried to connect him to a computer, but yeah, he was running the interview through a car with the garage door shut, so it wasn't. He didn't take the news too well.
I'm not really tracking this.
It's a suicide joke, Tech Guy.
Okay, all right, yeah.
We get dark here. Yeah. All right, so first, that'd be more appropriate. He wasn't even like a full-on Kamala guy. He's just like very casual about it. It's a joke doesn't even really work for him.
I would say I'm not either. I would say I am much more solidly than him, but
I guarantee you have a white dudes for Kamala shirt somewhere.
I do not. That is.
Oh my god!
I would like to.
Why did they think that would be a good idea? Let's just jump right into that. As a Kamala Harris voter, do you know anyone who Josh Gad resonated with in telling them to vote for Kamala Harris? I think that turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm gonna be honest. I have not even heard of this.
Really? Oh, yeah, you're not chronically online like I am. Good for you.
Yeah, I think I am chronically online, just like in a different way than you are.
Okay, that's a very good
and I wouldn't necessarily say chronic. I feel like we inhabit the internet in very different.
That's fair.
Spheres.
That's fair. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, but basically, it was this campaign, like official camp. I almost just spilled all of my water. Wow, I caught it. I was sick.
Pretty.
Wasn't it? It was ninja. This whole campaign from the Kamala Harris. It was like they did a whole live stream thing. It was Josh Gad, Mark Ruffalo, all the Avengers actors even Robert Downey Jr., which really bummed me out. And they were talking, the least masculine men you could ever see being like, we're men and we're voting for Kamala Harris. Aren't we cool? And it was the worst thing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I will be the most pro-choice person ever if it means I can never see that again.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that's an example of the Harris campaign being like, oh yeah, men aren't voting for Kamala Harris because she is a woman. So we're going to try to target that specifically. And I feel like
bring out the lady men.
Bringing that up and being like, men aren't voting for Kamala. And then, I don't know, I feel like acknowledging it honestly was kind of a mistake in a way. You know what I mean? I don't know how you do it's okay.
It wasn't really a mistake. Yeah. It wasn't really a mistake, but they went about it the wrong. And every time they put out Tim Walz out there
to try way to do it.
See, I don't know either.
Yeah, I know. I feel like no matter how you do that, that's a cringy thing to do.
And every time they brought out Tim Walz to try to do something, like that to bring men in, he fucked it up every single time. You see that hunting trip thing where he's like, oh yeah, I go pheasant hunting every year. And they gave him a gun and he's very clearly never held a gun in his entire life. First of all, I watched the whole thing. The second he grabs a shotgun, the first thing he does is kind of swinging around, which you've ever taken a gun safety class. Even if you check that thing is not loaded 1,000 times, you never ever do that. Also, to actually load it, he put the butt on his inner hip and like he was loading a crossbow. He's never held a gun in his entire life, and it was very, very obvious. And he did this also Madden NFL Xbox live stream with AOC, and he tweeted out afterwards, AOC runs a mean pick six. And I know you don't watch a ton of football. No one who has ever played, coached, or watched football has ever said the term runs a mean pick six. Because it's just something that happens.
You do have him there, yeah. It's like it's not an intentional thing.
Planned
it's great
thing,
when
no.
it happens, but it's not the plan. It's
God.
never the plan.
Oh no, yeah. So you know what? Okay, we got a little off.
Here's
top.
the
Not
other
even,
thing too. Like, I mean, what happened? Like, did she make a lot of interceptions? Did she pick six like a few times?
I didn't watch the full thing. I watched a few
I don't
clips.
Know, maybe it happened, and maybe I don't know.
Still doesn't matter. You still don't say runs a mean pick six.
Yeah, weird thing to say.
It was. I know during I saw clips.
I mean, he was a
football coach, if you're drawing
to
up,
be fair.
He was an assistant lineman coach. Let's be real.
Well,
he was
yeah,
a guy who showed up, and the other coach was like, "Oh God, we have to let him in. It's a school thing."
Okay,
every
also,
football team has a coach like
fair.
that. You played in middle school, you know that.
Let's be fair.
He was
to
that guy.
Let's be fair to linemen in general. Come on. You are a lineman. That's like a very important job.
I was a defensive lineman. We're a pathetic offense. You just sit there and no. All right, so we got a little off topic, but not really. What was your initial reaction? Were you watching coverage first of all on Tuesday night?
No, on Tuesday night I had a nice beer in my hand, and I was on a call with some of my siblings, and I was trying to ignore the election as much as I could because I kind of knew it was going to happen. Despite what the polling was saying, I just had this is like usually I would say I'm like kind of like a by the numbers sort of person, you know, I'm like, oh, the numbers say this, probably right, but I just had a feeling. I was I was
yeah. Speaking of polling, as two native Iowans, did you buy that the poll? It was like a week before the election that Harris was up something like 3 points in Iowa.
Well, I know that was like a very specific poll, and I didn't buy it for a second.
However, no one did.
It did make me happy for Iowa because I don't know. Growing up, one thing that I really liked about Iowa is that they were kind of like not super like partisan, you know.
We're a swing state either way.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Iowa, they look at the issues and they make a decision, and they're not just driven by ideology, which I feel
we voted for Obama twice.
Exactly, which I kind of had felt was lost. I mean, especially like in the last 12 years, you know, like driving through, and you know, I just felt like that wasn't the case anymore. And seeing that Iowa could potentially swing, that was really encouraging. Not necessarily because I thought Iowa was going to swing, but because it reminded me like, hey, the thing that I really like about Iowa, which is that it's just a bunch of pragmatic folks trying to make government work the best that it can, you know, is something that maybe is still more true than I had perceived. You know,
and your reaction when the actual results came out?
Let me be clear that that's not because they were voting for Kamala. It's because they were in the middle, you know, because they were making
that
like
sense.
That's you know, they were thinking about it. you know,
that's fair.
Yeah.
Right.
I
was just about to ask something. I don't remember. So when did you actually find out? Like, did you ever actually look at the results as the night was going on?
Okay, so no, well, okay. I came home and I had this plan, and then my household had other ideas. Let's just say, that's all I'll say. Is like, it was very hard to ignore election coverage.
Of course.
But anyway, I was doing a pretty good job. I was doing a decent job. And then like right before I went to bed, I looked at my phone and I saw a text from you. I was like,
what? Okay. To be totally clear, I don't remember that.
I don't know.
It was. It was the Eye of Sauron falling. Is what it was.
Yeah. And
I don't remember.
I was like, oh no, maybe this won't be real when I wake up in the morning. And then I woke up in the morning and I just kind of laid in bed. Like,
I had a blast Tuesday night. Early on, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do a shot for every state Trump wins. It was the worst decision.
Bad idea.
See, that's the.
What did Kenny tell you?
I started with hard liquor, but as the night went on, I was doing wine shots by the end of the night.
Like,
I just
this is
couldn't
not
do
gonna
the
work.
vodka.
Yeah.
I was hammered, but I had
Yeah.
such a blast just watching
Yeah.
that. Oh, Twitter was a great place to be the next few days.
Oh, I bet.
Because
Actually,
it
low-key-
was, it was filled with.
No,
Go
no,
continue. Sorry.
yeah.
No,
No, you say your thing.
It was filled with right-wing Twitter, just like absolutely having a great time. Lots of Lord of the Rings memes. That's why I posted that. All
Yeah.
Return of the King. And the left just, melting down and not knowing if they should blame the voters, America
Yeah,
in general,
exactly.
Kamala, Biden, or the voting machines getting hacked by Starlink somehow. Which is a real thing I saw.
I saw this really good video this morning, actually. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like just starting to like listen to the news a little bit more. It's been tough for me. But I saw this really good video by Hank Green this morning, and he was going through like tweets from like mostly the left and being like, these are like good and bad election takes. And it was a really great video because he's like, this is the worst thing that you could say. Like, for instance, like at the beginning of the video, he had the worst election take. So at the beginning of the video, it was like, Trump voters are stupid, and that's why they voted for Trump. He's like, this is the worst take. Why are we saying this?
At this point.
This is a horrible take. And then at the end of the video, it had takes like, well, if you look globally, incumbents lost the last election by like an overwhelming margin everywhere because there's been a global recession. So that's probably one of the biggest explanations we can see. It's just that like incumbents did not do well.
It's interesting to know.
Just like over the last year of elections, like
that is interesting to know. But one thing I've noticed, it isn't really incumbents. It's more like a kind of populist uprisings across mainly the U.S. and Europe.
It is both things. And I think that, it's because,
except England,
first of
they'll
all,
never get it right.
Populist uprisings, they are really, really well, they're really good in the current media landscape because populist uprisings are very tweetable. Very tweetable, very reelable, very like very easy to make like a splashy, piece of short form content that's like, I don't know, Trump's gonna save you, or I don't know, who else? Let's say
the Chicken Italy.
Yeah, exactly. Maloney is like our savior. Easy to make like a really like splashy, thing about like a populist point. Because the whole point of populism is that it's like, I don't know, it's just like really kind of simple takes that are popular. Like people are like, the populist uprising, that's like very well tuned for the media landscape we're in currently. Also, global recession post-COVID,
and that ship thing in the Suez Canal had way more of an effect than we thought it did.
The ship in the Suez Canal?
The ship went sideways and blocked the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's like that was
hilarious.
That was a whole trip. Yeah, like we had supply chains globally collapse.
Because one asshole.
No, because of COVID.
Wasn't it?
And then
I thought
you're
stuck
in the Suez Canal. That
that's
right
what I was
as we were
referring to.
trying to recover like global supply chains, a ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal and shuts it down.
Well, the first
for
one was
several
also
weeks.
one asshole, and his name is Anthony Fauci. Anyway, what was the biggest?
I wouldn't necessarily say that because that was happening globally.
Well, I'm more referring to the funding of the Wuhan lab. But anyway, Clara, what is your problem? Why are you whining? No, sorry, Clara's like bitching about nothing. Anyway, what was the biggest surprise for you on Tuesday night or afterwards, whenever you caught up with the results? What was the biggest surprise? States that were won.
I'm going to be honest. Actually, you know what? The fact that he won the popular vote, I wasn't ready for because he never had.
I'll agree with that.
I was like, okay, he's never.
Republicans haven't since 2004.
I was pretty surprised that he actually ended up winning the popular vote, and I was like, dang, which is an interesting thing too, because me and Kenny were both like, we think that he's going to sweep all of if the swing states go one direction, they're most of them are going to go that direction. Is kind of what we were thinking. For no apparent reason.
I didn't think they would.
Yeah.
I thought Pennsylvania and maybe Wisconsin or Michigan or something like that. I didn't think all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I didn't think all of them either. That That was
No one
pretty
did.
nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I was surprised he won the popular vote. But honestly, I should have guessed that, given the fact that I was saying that most of the swing states would probably go one direction.
Yeah.
So if Trump won, yeah, I probably would win the popular vote in that case. So I don't know. It's an example of Weston not thinking that hard.
Well, him doing that is interesting because I don't know how to say this. In 2016 and a little bit in 2020 and before this election, you had a lot of the internet leftists were talking about how we need to abolish the Electoral College because, majority vote, even though it's stupid because then New York and LA would decide every election. And if you want an actual uprising in this country, abolish the Electoral College.
Yeah.
But now that argument is completely non-existent. That's why I don't think we'll actually see any riots or massive protests, at least in the initial phase, like at the inauguration, because there's just that massive mandate.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I honestly, I do kind of, I am kind of slightly pro-electoral college. I definitely see what people are saying when they're like,
I don't.
This is a bad idea, because in quite a few elections actually recently, we've all kind of said we want this to happen, and the opposite thing has happened.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
People have had their will. Yeah, and I mean, the electoral college is
the
good
scale
because
we're working at in the U.S. doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing about the electoral college that I mean, the basic defense that I think a lot of people have and that I kind of stand by is that the electoral college keeps rural voters safe from the majority, like the mass in the city who doesn't understand rural issues.
There's an interesting kind
of they rely on rural areas. Now
there's an interesting kind of case study involving in Michigan. I think it was like 2014 in the Upper Peninsula, disconnected from the main Michigan. There were wolves, gray wolves, like attacking farmers and their ranchers and their sheep and stuff. And so, there was a big vote. It was like, all right, should we increase the amount of wolves that hunters and these ranchers can kill? And for some reason, they put the vote to the entire state.
Yeah.
Including, Detroit and Grand Rapids. And since they don't know shit,
that it's a
they voted, no, don't kill the wolves.
Yeah.
And so people in the Upper Peninsula are attacked by wolves because douchebags in Detroit don't want people to hunt. That is a perfect case study for why we need the electoral college.
They haven't been near the issue. They don't understand it. So
absolutely not.
You can't really blame them for going, we want to save the wolves. I probably would do that too, but I wouldn't have understood the issue. That's not
it's a lot worse in Detroit now because of how terrible it is. There's a lot of drug dealers loose, like cooters and tiders loose in the city. Detroit is not a great American city. I think there's less than it's incredibly corrupt. There's I think less than 1 million people living there, and it's parts of downtown are full on a zoo where there's bears and walking alongside meth heads.
I'm not gonna lie, I find that hard to believe, but
it is I am 100% being serious. You can look this up. There are wild animals roaming the streets of Detroit. It is World War Z over there.
Wild
not even a little bit of a joke. Fentanyl, yeah. Xylazine, is that the one? I don't know. Dr. Nick could let me know about that one. What are you most looking forward to in the next Trump administration?
Oh man, that's an interesting question. Man, it is hard for me to say that there's I'm going to be honest, just about every one of Trump's policies, I was like, this is nuts. This is I don't, his take on schools, he kind of wants to privatize schools, in a major way. A lot of his policies are moving in that direction. And that scares me. But yeah, back to the question, man, what is something I'm looking forward to? I am interested to see if the tariffs will work out, in a way that is more counter to the traditional narrative of how tariffs generally work.
That's the thing. And I didn't know this until very recently, but people, even on the right, demonize Trump for the tariffs a lot. But Joe Biden kept in 90-something% of Trump's tariffs.
Well, and the reason is because once you start protecting
and I didn't know that.
It's very difficult to repeal that because that industry is kind of dependent on the tariffs, right? So it's really tough to get rid of a tariff, and they generally decrease trade in both directions. They decrease imports and they decrease exports because once you put in a tariff, that also decreases the supply, which increases the price.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to kind of tighten our belt a little bit, especially in the case of China, who we might be at war with very soon.
Kind of, but here's actually like going back to global supply chains. Here's I think one of the things that's really kind of freaky about tariffs is nothing is built in one place anymore, right? So if, for instance, you are a car company in Germany and you rely on an American part, generally, like, you will get retaliatory tariffs. Generally, if you put a tariff on someone, they often will, put a tariff on you, right? So if you're a German supplier or manufacturer of cars, right, and you're relying on a part that's manufactured in, India and then, or China, maybe China, and then assembled in the U.S. There's like, and that several things are assembled in the U.S. and then are sent to Germany, right? You are not going to use the American factory anymore because all of a sudden the American factory that's, sourcing parts from China they get a 60% price hike on the parts that they're, sourcing from China, and a 20% price hike on the parts that they're, sourcing from India and Japan, right? And then they're assembling them, and all of a sudden the cost of this thing that they've assembled and then added and done extra things to is massively inflated. And so the German company says, we don't want to buy from you. Why would we buy from you? We're going to buy from someone else somewhere else. So that's one of the really freaky things about tariffs that I think could really come to bite us, is that nothing is assembled in one place. Things are assembled like everywhere all the time. So you might have like a car that's produced domestically, right? You have a domestically produced car in America, made in America, right? Ford plants source parts from all over the world. So like a Ford car that's mostly assembled in America is gonna get 20% more expensive because we don't make all the parts. Like, no one makes all the parts. No one, so that's the really freaky thing about tariffs, is not only that generally they decrease imports and exports in both directions. So like if you put a tariff on washing machines, that usually means we export less washing machines and we import less washing machines. It also can have these weird compounding effects because of the way the global supply chains work. So I'm rather concerned about the tariffs because Donald Trump has been super, super aggressive about this. And most economists are like, this is crazy. We shouldn't do this. You can find some fringe people who say that it's a good thing. The benefit is that it does create resilience in supply chains. So if you can't source from everywhere, all of a sudden you do have to start consolidating your supply chains and producing more things domestically.
And I think that's the really goal with him.
Yeah, that is the goal. The thing is that usually when you try to do that, you do like what the Biden administration did, which is say like, oh, we have these like specific types of chips and we're going to put a tariff on those specific chips, and we're going to give a subsidy for those chips so that we can hopefully grow this industry domestically, which they did. They opened a factory. They opened like one of the first chip factories of its kind in the U.S. And like that was a successful policy with tariffs. And the other thing too is being able to get rid of the tariff eventually, because often, a domestic industry will, start to rely on a tariff. So industrial policy, which is, a component of industrial policy could be tariffs. It's a really tricky thing, and it's really, really hard to get right. So I don't know. The tariffs, I would be interested maybe to see if I'm wrong on that. Because that really turns our understanding of some things upside down.
Okay, that's fair.
So So I guess that would be interesting. I don't know. What are some policies you think I would be excited about? Because the other thing is
a
like,
good question.
I really don't like
From
this
my
guy,
perspective.
and so I'm probably not looking for the things that that I might like as hard as I maybe should be.
Think. Policies that you would see. It's hard to say before the administration even gets started. It'd be a lot easier to do this posthumously. I don't know how to say that word. I've only seen it written. I think you're gonna like this foreign policy more than you're gonna like to admit.
Maybe potentially,
especially in regards to like Ukraine and Israel.
There could
because have you seen where Qatar has basically said like Hamas, you are no longer allowed in this country, and they expelled everyone who's in it, and Hamas even been like, we want to end this war. Like the night of the election, they started talking about how they want to end the war. I think they're.
Yeah. I think it'd be good.
A lot of people are very, very terrified right now, and the right people are.
The thing that I would really be worried about is that Donald Trump sides with Israel on everything and doesn't go, oh, Benjamin Netanyahu is the one who botched a ceasefire deal, and was the one who was kind of not allowing hostages to return. And I mean, that's people within Benjamin Netanyahu's administration who have said that, yeah, it's Benjamin Netanyahu who is really botching some of these deals to get hostages back and do, ceasefires. So that's
usually the deals are always beneficial for Hamas.
He would be, well, I mean, that is a narrative, but there's also a lot
it's
of
the narrative because the hostages are bargaining chips, which they're using basically.
Well, yeah,
which
but
they're
there's
using
a
to
lot
good
of
effect.
narratives from within Israel that are like, we could have gotten them back and we didn't because Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to
yeah, but it's situations where get them back
the other thing
at the expense of keeping Hamas intact, which at this point you just can't do that.
Well, the other thing too is if
it's a shit situation. I don't know. It's hard, but I don't want to be Netanyahu.
There was an official from his cabinet who recently resigned, or I think he did his term. I don't know. But anyway, he left the administration today, and yeah, his comments were basically like, yeah, we've done pretty much everything we can on the ground in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu has not been letting this end. And we could have, had ceasefires, we could have had hostages back, but, we're just kind of continuing this and there's not really a huge reason, which kind of is what I've been thinking is, yeah, it's gone on too long. And I think we've thrown too much blind support behind Israel.
And I want to move past this because we're getting off topic. But one thing I will say though, I mean, Netanyahu's in a situation where Hamas has broken every single ceasefire, and to leave them alive would be responsible for whatever deaths they later decide to do in the next operation. But I mean, I don't want to be Netanyahu. It's a shit position to be in. But I don't want to make those decisions anyway. Oh, what goddamn it! I need to start writing my questions down. Oh, here we go. Like you said, you haven't really been on social media much, so you maybe have not seen these. Along with this episode, so I have decided that I'm releasing this whole big, probably 3-hour post-election episode special tonight or tomorrow, whenever YouTube downloads it. But I have a montage in there, about 20 minutes of complete leftist meltdowns about talking about how Trump's going to take away women's rights. It's the Handmaid's Tale. One of them is a woman discussing how you can make poison for your husband who voted Trump's Aqua something. It's an old Italian thing. I'm not joking. You'll be able to see this. Yeah. What would your response to some you have, as you know, with your family and people you probably know? Mm-hmm. What would your response be to, I guess, mostly women who are afraid that how do I say this? Handmaid's Tale is about to come to life.
Well,
stop being silly, bitches.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say because, because the thing is that Donald Trump said that, or Donald Trump's Supreme Court said that they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade, and then they did. Donald Trump.
In all fairness, they lied.
Yeah, exactly. They lied, and Donald Trump has been saying, we wouldn't do anything more with abortion or IVF or.
Well, they can. It's back to the states, which is where it should be.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea.
And to be fair, here's my response to what them has been.
Control or no fault divorce, kind of a lot of these things that are women's issues. No fault divorce. That's there so that women who are being abused, don't have to prove that they're being abused. That they can just leave, right? You know,
Yeah, it's less than 1% that are actually abused to use that. Mostly it's just
well, yeah, but I mean,
get
but
bored in a
also,
relationship.
yeah, but also it's really important for that 1%. And the other thing is domestic abuse is chronically underreported. So I would question that 1% as well. You know, I do think that domestic abuse is less common than it used to be. However, you know, if you have a no-fault divorce law,
To be fair, she did not put bologna on the sandwich.
no. But like,
so I gave her a knuckle one.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like birth control, a lot of these kind of things that we've taken for granted, I think that there's a pretty good chance that none of them will change.
They won't. Here's the thing.
There's a pretty good chance.
Here's a few more questions.
But
Who was president when Roe v. Wade was
hesitant
overturned?
To say that
Hate this
that they won't change. I mean,
I don't think they will.
Saying that Biden was president when Roe v. Wade was overturned is kind of like,
well, he didn't do anything to
like
resolve it, basically, because they wanted it to campaign on it. The midterms.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying that Biden caused Roe v. Wade to
I didn't say he caused it. I'm not saying he caused it. I'm saying he didn't. Just their whole thing was, Kamala's whole thing was, if you elect me, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade in the Constitution. Biden had 2 years to do that, and he didn't. Yeah. So what makes think Kamala would have?
I think
that's what I meant by that. Not that he caused it.
I think that was kind of a, if we can pull it off, we'll do it. But I don't think legislatively they really could have pulled that off.
No, of course not. It's going to stay at the states.
Necessarily,
who else thought it should be the states?
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg also thought it should stay to the states. To went on the what's it called? I don't know what their little paper that says why we voted for this thing. Initially, when Roe v. Wade is passed, she said this is bad law. It's going to get overturned eventually, but I had to vote for it because Democrats, stuff like that. So she knew the feminist champion Ruth Bader Ginsburg knew this was going to happen. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. My whole thing with that whole topic.
Your body, my choice, women.
Well, it's that it's such a tough issue. If you're actually looking at it, and if you're actually grappling with that issue, it's a really tough issue, and that's why I think people should be allowed to choose how they feel on it. Is because if you're really paying attention, if you're really thinking critically about that, it's really, really tough. And there are some really tough scenarios that happen with that. And people fiercely disagree on this.
Yeah, well, of course.
And so I think people should be allowed to make their own choices on this. That's really where I stand on that.
On abortion or feeling the way about it?
On abortion, yeah. Yeah.
Well, of course, we both have our disagreements on that. I know you have the bloodlust for infants, but...
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing.
Continue to demonize the other side. Yeah. That's what we do.
Yeah, but...
and I, of course, hate women.
Exactly.
I don't actually... I don't like babies. I just despise women so much. I see them grocery shopping, and I say, why are you not wearing one of those Afghan hoods? It disgusts me. Ankles?
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, but
disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I do worry a little bit about those sorts of things. I think they probably won't change, but I do think that they could. I think that we made them more likely to change with the current administration that's in.
You know who Matt Walsh is?
Unfortunately,
I love the guy. He made this video post-election. It was I need to figure out. No, hold on.
Consistently, the worst, most he takes ever.
No. Listen, I wish I could connect OBS to this because there's a video he made post-election that has death threats being sent to him. It's look, I know a lot of women out there are concerned that you're going to get your rights taken away now that Donald Trump is president. He goes into this whole tirade. It's of course you will not get your rights taken away. You will still have the right to vote. You will have the right to vote for whoever your husband tells you to vote for, who will always be Donald Trump. I encourage you to watch the video. It's just this whole 3-minute sarcastic asshole-ish thing that's fantastic. I did not have Matt Walsh becoming basically conservative Borat on my 2024 bingo card, but he is there. He's the greatest troll I've ever seen on the right. I can't do what he does. I need to pack it up because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that video is one of those things that, as a comedian, that made me angry.
Unabashed, I feel like you have to be as deep as he is to be able to do
We've
that, right?
we've earned it. After the 4 years, we've earned the right to be dicks this election cycle, this
I
post-election.
don't think anyone has the right to be like unpleasant. I don't know.
I think we do. They threw one of our guys in prison for a joke after January 6th. No, it was after the election itself. It was someone who told a joke about like, oh, Democrat Biden voters, you guys have to vote on like this day at this place. And that wasn't on Friday or something like that. And hey guys, he went to trial this week, I think. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel made the exact same joke like 2 weeks ago. And then now he's crying on air.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is like, he's a comedian,
So is this guy. So is this guy is the crazy thing. So is this guy.
Okay.
Difference is
I'll maybe
tweet
bite on
versus
that.
late night monologue.
Yeah, that also is much different. A tweet is much easier to like see that and not know who it is. But I mean, I think that maybe throwing the guy in prison, a little bit overkill.
Very much so.
That.
Very much
it was
so.
Maybe a little bit of overkill. You should have maybe done a cease and desist. You maybe should have had to pay a fine.
Not even that. Nothing.
Like,
nothing should have happened to him.
I think that we should be taking that kind of thing seriously. But
for free speech,
I think that's not free speech.
Yes, it is. Well, here's the thing, and the argument was like, this
say.
many people actually believed it. It's like, okay, it's not his fault. They're retards.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that that's like closer to the kind of shouting fire in a crowded building. You
can also shout fire in a crowded building if there's a fire.
Yeah, but that's not what was happening.
I
know.
Point is, we won. Make this shit great again. Okay, next question. What do you think about the massive demographic shift that happened this election? Because as we've seen, I don't know if you've seen these numbers, Trump gained with every single demographic except, I believe, black women. Even white women, that's Latinos. Native Americans broke for Trump at 64%, which has never happened ever.
That's incredible.
For the same reason the Amish did.
I have not heard that, but that's kind of incredible.
Yep. For the same reason the Amish did, because they kept dicking with their farming practices.
Oh, yeah.
They also put a bunch of migrants on tribal lands, which pissed them off.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that honestly, I would just go back to the, the incumbents are losing everywhere. So, I mean, like, these are groups that are heavily not voting for Republicans already. So, a small change will do a lot. And, people being unsatisfied with the current administration, that'll do it. I saw like do you watch Left, Right, and Center at all?
I've seen clips.
Yeah. But yeah, his take was like, you think like Latinos only care about being Latino? They also care about the economy. They're just people.
They are very socially conservative Catholics.
Well, yeah, that is also true.
Fuck the wall, open up the borders, let them all in. Fuck voter ID's racist too.
Well,
Just let
an
the games begin.
That, like Republicans missed about like Hispanics is that they're very socially conservative generally, and they maybe should have been more like path to immigration than they were, because they really, I don't know. It's getting a little bit like,
well, that is the rhetoric, like, but it's close the border first, send the illegals back, and then figure out the path to
see, the problem that I have with that take though is that it's always close the border and never path to citizenship. Like, it always stops with close the border,
Well, yeah, because you have to shut down the flow first, because it's not just migrants coming through.
But
it's cartels, it's drugs.
Yeah, I feel like that's always like the excuse, but then it ends up just being like stem the flow, across the board. That's kind
fair.
of what I feel like usually ends up happening, is that we need more legal immigration ends up being like, we just need less immigration. It's like a Trojan horse, I feel.
I've seen that before. I think it's easy to cross over to that, but I don't think that. But
maybe, that could be a bad take from me.
Yep.
That could just be me being, having bad faith. But
tying into that question, the major news networks have been a blast to watch just this past week, because you will have this is all important to the question. You'll have a whole CNN panel, one guy calmly explain like, oh, the Trump campaign ran this entire commercial in like Florida and Pennsylvania and a bunch of other swing states about, oh, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Trump is for you. And the guy, talks about how letting boys and girls sports. And you'll have one CNN host absolutely lose their shit about how, oh, they voted because, They just hate gay people, stuff like that. Clearly, the left, from my perspective, is not learning jack shit. What is, if you had the entire Democratic establishment at your table right now, what is the one thing you would tell them to win the 2026 midterms or the 2028 election? The one thing they need to learn that they are currently not.
Oh, that they're currently not. Man,
just from my perspective, at least. Yeah.
Well, I would say stop pandering. So okay, this is maybe an interesting comparison.
Or pander to the right.
You know how Wonder Woman was like a really good movie and also did feminism pretty well?
It was fine, yeah.
Right? It's because they made a good character and they made a good movie and they didn't like just take toxic masculinity and put it in a woman and call it feminism and
Captain Marvel 2 comes to mind.
Kind of like pandering is where like a lot of like the bad like things where it's like this was a bad movie and also not a very critical take and not like this wasn't good work,
no.
Right, in film, right? I think that you can take like that comparison and apply it to the Democratic Party where it's like they like pander to certain groups, like like Kamala goes on and she's like, oh, what do black dudes care about? They care about weed and crypto. Like, what? That's kind of racist, low-key. Like, that was like a really bad take.
Oh, and they can't use computers. Don't forget that one.
Yeah, like that was a really really weird take for her to take. Like that,
Crypto.
like honestly, why did she do that? Because I think that
she's an idiot.
Well, no,
we
I
all
think
do
that
this.
like you can see through that, and yeah, you're like it's easy to see through. Like you're just talking to people in the end. Like, why can't we just treat people like people and not like try to put them in like little boxes and be like, oh, like what do these voters care about? I will say that I think that really why the Democrats lost the election is because like they're an incumbent party and people have been generally dissatisfied. I will say that really is the take. I think that it's not anything that they did horribly wrong. But like some of this like really weird pandering, that was weird. Like pandering to men, like pandering to different demographics in these kind of tacky ways that honestly like caricatured them and was a little bit demeaning. I found that a little bit weird.
Hot.
Like that was weird, and I feel like a lot of people from those demographics, I think some people felt seen maybe, but I also feel like a lot of people felt like someone was misrepresenting them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that was and once again, I'm a white guy, so I could be completely wrong on this. I could be super, super wrong on that.
Just count yourself because of that.
Well, yeah, but also, I don't want to you don't want to say that you can speak for everybody.
That's fair.
Right?
White
because I
knight.
can't, But the thing is that I think they did some really weird pandering that was kind of insulting in some instances. Like,
one thing I will say is that the left needs to stop pushing their own away, and the only way I can describe that is I've seen a lot of takes like, oh, the left for the next election need to build their own Joe Rogan, need to build their own Elon Musk. Leftist Joe Rogan and Elon Musk were Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. They were shoved away by the party.
Kind of interest. Yeah,
they were both Bernie bros.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they endorsed Trump. They need to stop shoving their own away.
I think that
for
is
minor
very true.
Opinion infractions.
Yeah, because these people will step slightly out of line, and then they'll get ostracized essentially. Yeah,
yep.
I think that does actually happen. I think that's valid. A valid thing to bring up. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some of these things like are like genuinely like not okay, but I think that the level at which they have been criticized.
RFK Jr., another one.
Yeah. Well, RFK Jr. had some wild takes from the get go. I'm not gonna lie.
I liked him.
Kind of like anti-vax, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if RFK Jr. was ever really like a Democrat.
Well, he was. If you go back like 20 years ago, he was very, for the Democrat views at the time, very mainstream Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
For again, what that was, which is
I don't
basically
think right
Republicans now.
Yeah, exactly. I think now he's not really a Democrat.
Of course not. Neither is Rogan and Musk or Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Well,
because they were all shoved away.
No, I do think that those cases are different than RFK though.
All right.
Yeah. No, I think you're
final questions. Look me in the eyes and tell me you are not the least bit relieved you don't have to hear Kamala's cackle ever again.
Honestly, like it didn't bother me.
Oh, fuck you, it didn't. There's no way, as a human being with ears that worked.
I don't know. I feel like someone with a very distinctive laugh, so.
Oh, God. Also, what do you think of the conspiracy theory that the Bidens voted for Trump?
What?
Have you heard this one?
Heard of this, but this is interesting.
So there's a whole thing where basically Joe Biden didn't leave the race of his own fruition. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Kamala Harris essentially went up to him after the June 27th debate and said, drop out of the race or we are going to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove you from office. So he did. And then the plan was, all right, because Pelosi just talked about this, I think this morning, that we're going to have an open primary. We're going to figure this out. Kamala will still probably win because, the finance, stuff like that. But Joe went out during his address and endorsed Kamala without any of them knowing he was going to do that and just basically fucked everyone else in the party as one big screw you, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Then, election day comes. We see Jill Biden walking out of the voting precinct wearing just like complete blood red, like whatever the woman version of a suit is. This is someone whose husband has been in politics his entire life. There's no way, surrounded by advisors 24/7, there's no way she didn't know how that would look wearing complete red on election day, walking out of the voting precinct. Also, watching Joe Biden's farewell address, that was the most spry and happy I have ever seen him since before 2019. Like, he was just walking. He didn't stutter once. He spoke perfectly. And afterwards, when he walked off, he gave the biggest smile I have ever seen. I think he loved it.
To be fair, many times when people
also, one more thing. He did not show up to Kamala Harris's kind of like watch party, which you think, okay, he's older, he's the president. It was at Howard University, 2 miles from the White House. That's not an Air Force One trip. That's a 2-minute drive.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think.
I think they voted for Trump. Or at the very least, we're happy he won. I don't know.
The other thing, is when people are like, wow, Joe Biden looks so, like, spry and, like, cogent. And, the other thing that I was thinking is I was like, yeah, I've seen Biden gaffes, but I actually saw quite a bit of Biden speaking and looking more or less like this during his presidency. And I think that the reason so many people are like, wow, he looks like so normal is because they really only saw Biden when they were like, look, there's another Biden gaffe that just dropped,
No, because the reason they threw him out, not because his poll numbers are bad, is because he almost had a stroke on stage on June 27th.
Yeah.
Not even the media could hide that one.
Well, yeah, no, that was it was an awful debate. However, there was a lot of speeches and things that he gave where he did seem completely fine. And I think that maybe there is a sense of like he's relieved that he doesn't have to deal with like all of the pressure that you would have to deal with under being president. But also
there's that he was basically
footage of him looking that good, in other venues, in other instances.
There is also that he is historically not like Kamala Harris, and he was basically forced to choose her as his running mate by the Democratic establishment because she called him a racist multiple times on stage during the 2020 primary debates. Huh. And they basically said, and the Obamas basically approached and said, Joe, you need to choose her because black woman.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
I just love that conspiracy so much that there's this huge infight. I would give all the money I will ever make the rest of my life to be a fly on the wall last Wednesday morning when she had to come back into the office.
Yeah.
Oh God, that'd be fantastic.
No, tough day for the Dems.
Oh God, you're damn right it was. All right, so we are coming up on our time. Tech guy, any closing thoughts?
I don't know. Like, let's just let's just be good about vetting our takes. There's a lot of wild takes flying around there. Like if you see something that says something like Republicans stole the election, they probably didn't. And if you're liberal, if you want to believe that, it's probably because you really want to believe that. If you're a Republican and you see something that says like, I don't know, that liberals are stupid and that's why they lost the election is because, like, I don't know, don't believe anything that that demonizes the other side and that is an easy win for you. I guess, because it's really easy to see those takes and want to fall for them. But, I don't know, especially for me, that's one thing that I've been doing in the last, couple of days is like, you know what, like we lost, too bad, so sad. And, it's, it'd be really easy to kind of have like bad takes, like Trump voters are stupid or, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's probably a lot more boring, to be honest. Sure. Honestly, I think most things are more boring or more complicated than the 5-second take that you see. So
yeah.
So don't.
My worry is
take.
Kamala Harris is the one who actually has to certify the election.
Yeah,
being vice president.
I mean, she will. She'll do it.
You know what I think you guys should do? Gather at the Capitol. Maybe throw a date out there. January 6th.
Like a bunch of people, just
a bunch of people having a good time, and just, you make your voices heard. And just, you walk in there.
Just kind of, yeah.
Forever will be known as, the best day in Democratic history. For our democracy, which isn't really democracy. It's a constitutional republic, you dumb fucks.
Well, yeah, but also
learn the definition.
Like whenever people say that it's a constitutional republic, it's an
but a constitutional republic is a type of democracy. No, democracy is mob rule. We have a constitutional republic.
Okay, yeah, but I feel like often constitutional republic take is used, like people are like, it's not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic, and then that's used to justify something that's very authoritarian, which is also not what we want or what we are.
So, I see no reason why we shouldn't just assign women husbands. I mean, Trump won. That's what's going to happen now.
Evan,
let's just start. Project 2025 was the plan the whole time. I don't know if we were kind of lying about that. It's been real this whole time. Now we can finally admit it. Handmaid's Tale is coming to life, baby.
Evan, I'm going to text you something because it's too devastating to say over air. But
oh my God. I'm joking. Of course I am. Why are you texting me? Why are we still on air right now? You know what? I'm not going to read. If it's funny enough, I'll read it on air. Hold on. Typing. Ooh. My hockey fantasy team just scored a goal. There we go. After I lost last week. All right, let's see this. Oh. He just types, this is why you're single, Evan. I thought this was going to be something like, dude, my mother, my sister's really devastated about this.
No. Just saying, like.
God, that's fantastic. Okay, I don't think we can end on anything better than that. All right. Stick around. We're going to be interviewing Stefan, our British friend, talking about his perspective on the election. It'll be a fun time.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. Have a good one. Keep it unorthodox. We will see you soon. Stop. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Unorthodox podcast. You just saw us break down the things I am most excited for Project 2025, as we all are as men who are all aware of this. And we got Stefan here. Said he was going to be on the show. Going to run down biggest surprises from Tuesday night. Most excited for, what we're expecting out of the second Trump term, and kind of, debunking some common myths that are being spread, halting some fears, whole 9 yards. Stefan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you, Evan. I'm still in celebration mode after the Dodgers won the World Series. Trump won the election. It's a double celebration for me. I'm going to be in Washington at the end of the month, D.C., celebrating that.
Nice. Yeah. I want to get some guys together to go to the inauguration. That'd be sick.
That'd be awesome. I don't think I can afford to go twice.
Yeah.
In the space of a few months, but yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So, yeah, sorry. This is actually the third take. We had some tech difficulties. So I'm trying to get my brain back together. Okay. So let's just jump. Yep. Let's just jump right into it. What were some of the biggest surprises you had from Tuesday?
I was surprised how quickly he got off to a good start, to be honest with you. It wasn't even close. Like, there wasn't really any doubt in my mind that he was going to lose as long as it was a fair election. Because like, the only worry I had was, are they going to rig Pennsylvania again, like they obviously did in 2020? And I refuse
to admit that now.
I refuse to acknowledge the official story. And I think the election results proved that as well, to be honest with you, because there was like 20 million fewer votes this time, even though there were far more registered people who voted.
Yeah.
So where did those 20 million votes go? They didn't switch to Trump.
No. I saw a tweet online. It was Lord of the Rings when Aragorn releases the Army of the Dead. It was Joe Biden doing that right before 2 nights ago. Just thought that was hilarious.
I think seeing all these celebrities absolutely freak out over what happened was probably my favorite part of it, to be honest with you.
Jimmy Kimmel's was the best. Just crying
Jimmy
over
Kimmel's
NATO.
was hilarious, yeah, because obviously he doesn't understand what's going on. He goes, how could this happen? I was like, yeah, it happened because the people have been completely screwed over for 4 years by the Biden administration. My favourite one personally, and I sent a message to your brother saying, if you need a laugh today, have a look at Mark Hamill's Twitter account. It's hilarious.
It's like dead, isn't it? Is he freaking out? I haven't checked.
Well, it's all of the tweets he made before the election, and he made one recently saying, just like, we've been told that we get the leaders we deserve, and obviously that's not the case. I was like, no, we have. I was like, oh,
I don't know.
Are you worried you're going to get exposed as a pedophile with the rest of Hollywood?
I don't know. I think the United States deserved Kamala Harris, but we were spared. I think we got very lucky.
I do think all the prayers certainly helped, because one side was obviously praying for one candidate, and the other side, I don't think was, to be honest with you. If there were far fewer.
Yeah, well, of course.
So I wonder what those prayers were going to be anyway. It's like, dear God, please give me the right to murder my child in the womb.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect? When one of the candidates yells, when someone yells, Jesus is Lord, and Jesus is King, you're Lord at a rally, something like that, and she says, you're at the wrong rally.
Yeah.
That pissed off.
Won in the end.
Yeah, she's one of the only. I've noticed this. Like I said this last show, Catholics are generally split 50-50 in every single election. That needle doesn't really move. It moved. That needle moved, and I think it's because of that.
I think it is, definitely. Because Christianity was under attack.
Oh, yeah.
So, something we were talking about off camera, Evan, was the amount of Instagram followers we both lost. I think I lost about over 100, at least. Yeah, and it was, I'm really glad about it, actually, because I was quite happy to make that sacrifice, because there were a few people, not many, there were a few people who saw what I posted and then said that they actually were undecided voters and they're going to vote for Trump. Not because of me specifically, but because of the things I shared and the things that seemed to the people who shared similar things. If one person did that, it would have been worth it. So I had a teacher when I was about 12, a history teacher, and I remember her telling me, she was a bit crazy, like most history teachers are, but I do remember her saying, the most evil thing you can do is watch evil happen and do nothing. I do believe that the Democrats were evil. I don't believe the voters were necessarily evil, but I believe the things that they were allowing were evil, like human trafficking being coming across the border, fentanyl coming across the border. I think that was, and obviously abortion, murdering children at 9 months pregnant. I was like, I think it's all evil, and I think the worst thing you can do is do nothing. So it's like, if I can make one person change their mind, it's worth it. And I don't care how many friends I lose along the way.
Yep.
That was my logic behind it. I'm not going to sit there and do nothing when I've got some sort of an impact on it, however small it might be.
Yep, of course. I think this election could kind of really be summed down to small people doing big things. I don't know if you read the story of Scott Pressler in Pennsylvania.
No, I didn't. You want to?
He on Twitter, he's the Persistence. I think he's a guy. Yep. Gay guy moved after 2020. Moved to Pennsylvania. Personally, registered thousands of people to vote. Would drive hours just to help one person do it. Led the Amish in a caravan like it was the big tree people in Two Towers to attack Isengard. It was insane. That guy personally won Pennsylvania by himself for Trump.
That is incredible.
It's really insane. Go look, seriously, people, look up Scott Presler and read about what he did. It's genuinely amazing. And we can use that movement and break it down to individual states and cities. This election was small people doing big things.
That was incredible. Yeah,
absolutely.
There's people like you and me who just shared things on it. We do our podcast. We talk about this stuff. We raise awareness to people. However,
yes, my 10 fans are really active.
Yeah, it's like, however small they might be, they have a right to vote in America.
Of course.
They might think, oh, I heard Stefan talk about this, or I heard Evan talk about this, and I think he's right, actually, so I'm going to vote for Trump instead. There must be millions of people like that who voted from independent media, because you're never going to get the mainstream media talking about how fentanyl's poisoning the entire country.
Yep.
You're not going to get...
and you hear like people on both sides crapping on undecided voters. Like, oh, no one's actually undecided. Yes, they are, because most people aren't like us and are tuned into politics 24/7. Like most of my friends do not care about this. I actually had to talk to them about this stuff, and I got most of them to vote, not only vote, to vote for Trump.
Excellent. Good job, Evan.
Thank you.
So
I am awesome.
There's two people who come to mind who voted for Trump because of the things I shared. Two of them actually, 4 years ago, I had arguments with them because they were voting for Biden. And they both voted for Biden because of Black Lives Matter and how it hijacks that movement after George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose.
Getting hot.
And this time, they both voted for Trump. So I got them. Not only did they get an undecided voter to flip, they both switched from Biden to Trump, from the Democrats, I guess, to Trump.
Many stories like that.
And one of them, who lived in Arizona, she said she voted for Donald Trump this time because of RFK, because of him joining the movement, and she cared that much about making America healthy again movement.
Yep, that's what I'm almost most excited for.
Holding these vaccine companies accountable and holding the food and agriculture agencies accountable.
Yep.
Making sure our children aren't morbidly obese and the obesity rate doesn't keep increasing. It's already very close to 50%. We don't want it to go any higher. We want it to go lower. That's one of them. The other one, she said, I'm voting for Trump not because I like Trump. I'm voting for Trump because I love America.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like she said, so other people are voting for Harris because they hate Trump. I'm voting for Trump because I love the United States.
Of course. Yep. That's awesome. I think where the Harris campaign kind of went wrong was, how do I describe this? Just thinking business was usual in terms of campaign strategy. Trump, I think one of the major kind of aspects of his victory was the podcast game. He did. I guess Barron Trump was kind of the ringleader of that, who suggested all of it. It was Theo Vaughn, the Nelk boys, that one, Aiden Ross, Joe Rogan. Like young men like us watch that stuff. Who don't care about politics, watch that stuff.
Bryson DeChambeau and his break 50.
Yep.
A lot of men our age like golf.
Yep. And you see people, the liberals on Twitter saying like, we need our own Joe Rogan or Elon Musk or Tim Pool. Liberal Joe Rogan was Joe Rogan. Liberal Elon Musk was Elon Musk. You drove them away.
You know, I listened to an episode he did a long time ago. I only listened to it because
he was a Bernie bro.
Yeah, because he had a comedian on who we both like. It was what's his name? Trevor Moore.
Oh yeah.
It was in 2015. And I was like,
they killed him.
Yeah. They killed him. Yeah,
he would think that's hilarious that people think the government killed him.
He would think that's hilarious. But nonetheless, my point was, I listened to it and I was like, this does not sound like Joe Rogan. His opinions compared to today. He was very much a Democrat at the time, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, same with Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk was. Elon Musk said he waited in line for 2 hours to shake Obama's hand. Was it 2 hours or 2 days? It was like 2 days.
Like that.
A bit over the top. But nonetheless, yeah, it was like he was a Democrat. And obviously he flipped massively. And he was arguably the most influential person in the entire campaign.
Yep, absolutely.
First of all, for him buying Twitter.
Yep. Oh my God, that probably won him the election because we finally had free flow of information.
Yes, and
something like the Hunter Biden laptop story wasn't shut down.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, just like not only did we have freedom of speech, we could say whatever we wanted on the internet without being censored. We also exposed the government corruption from the last election with the Hunter Biden laptop, like you mentioned. You had the Twitter files when Jack Dorsey owned it. All of this corruption and the FBI colluding to censor information which was harmful to the Democrats. And he had all that malinformation, which basically means it's information which is 100% factual. However, it's harmful.
But we don't like it.
The media narrative. We don't like it. Therefore, you have to censor it. That was happening. That is an infringement on the First Amendment.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of RFK, one thing that I really, really hope Trump does, to hell with Make America Healthy Again. I want him to put RFK Jr. in charge of the FBI and just start revealing stuff.
The CIA would be good for me.
Both of them. All of them. I knew they killed my dad.
Why doesn't he do both? Yeah, they did kill his dad, 100%.
Of course they did. No shit, they did.
And his uncle.
Obviously. Oh my God. Well, you convinced me of that. I was initially kind of on the fence. We're like, yeah, I believe the official story, but it wouldn't shock me if they did. I remember the show where you convinced me of that. That changed my mind completely.
I'm glad that I did, and I hope other people realize it as well, because
9/11, I'm still not convinced.
I think there's definitely foul play there. I don't know if they actually did it themselves, but there was definitely. If you listen to the episode I did with Marquise the first time, he went into a lot of detail about how they knew that it was going to happen. They could have.
That's what I was going to say. If there's a conspiracy there, is that they knew it was coming but didn't do anything about it. Because there was a similar thing with FDR and Pearl Harbor.
Right, yeah. So I don't know as much about FDR and Pearl Harbor, but I know for 9/11, George W. Bush got a memo in his desk a few weeks before 9/11 happened, saying that there was going to be a terrorist attack. And he did nothing about it because they think, if there's a terrorist attack, then that gives us the excuse to go to war. And there's this book, Family of Secrets, which goes into a lot of detail.
You told me about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back on track. So we go on 9/11, we're going to be talking about after an hour.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But on topic, though, I was watching earlier. I was watching Dwight Eisenhower's farewell address from 1961, and it's very famous. He warned against the military-industrial complex and how if we put all the power into the arms race, it could lead to a completely unelected group of bureaucrats running the country. And obviously,
thank God that hasn't happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thank God that hasn't happened. I was like, but basically, when I get asked, especially in this country, when people don't understand it, and they really do not understand any of it, you're like, I have to explain. Like, it's going to take 5 hours for me to explain everything, and most of it's going to go over your head. If I was going to explain it, I would go back to January 17th, 1961, when Dwight Eisenhower gave that farewell address, and about the military-industrial complex and how it's encroached on our democracy.
Yeah.
And then they killed JFK. They killed RFK because he was protesting against the Vietnam War.
Got rid of Nixon.
Killed Martin Luther King. Got rid of Nixon by staging Watergate. That was all CIA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nixon didn't even know about it. There was a clip. Yeah.
And George H.W. Bush tried to have his president, Ronald Reagan, murdered in 1981. Because George H.W. Bush works for the CIA. Not many people know that. And then we've had all these rebel wars. Then he ended the Cold War, and then the military-industrial complex decided to encroach on NATO and expanding NATO by encroaching on Russian territory. Because the agreement was that they could reunite Germany under NATO when it was split between East and West on the condition that they didn't move NATO 1 inch to the east. Well, they've moved it all the way up to Ukraine's borders. In February 2022, Kamala Harris, the vice president, and thankfully that's all she'll ever be, went over to Ukraine and said, we would like Ukraine to join NATO. And Putin was like, no, we're not having this. We're going in and we're invading. If it wasn't for all of this history, then the Ukraine war never would have happened in the first place. It was the most provoked war of all time, arguably. And to call it unprovoked is intellectually dishonest.
Yep. And we had a chance in the early mid-90s to actually bring Russia into the fold, maybe even as an ally against someone like China, but because they are not historical allies. They've had border skirmishes for hundreds and hundreds of years, most recently in 2004. We could have used them essentially as a blockade.
I was so surprised when I heard that back in February when Tucker interviewed Putin. That was the one thing I was like, I'm pretty sure what he's going to say here, and it's going to just confirm everything I already know. I had no idea that Putin tried to join NATO in 2000, and Bill Clinton said, let me check with my bosses, the CIA.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, my boss said no. You're the president of the United States, Bill.
Yep. Well, maybe not even join NATO, just kind of lessen hostilities and, kind of sort of bring them into the fold.
If they let Russia join NATO, it all would have been over.
Of course.
But, then it would have been, what's the point of NATO if Russia's in it? Because
China.
Everybody knows that the point of NATO is to stop the Soviets from invading East. But the Soviets
it was to keep the Russians down, keep Germany down, the Russians out, and America in.
So it's all a massive money laundering scheme, basically. And there's so many people who don't know that. They're like, obviously NATO's there to stop Russia. I'm just like, Russia invading Ukraine is the exact reason why we need NATO. No, NATO caused the war.
Yep.
And that's why Trump won the election, because enough Americans have woken up to this. Like you said earlier, they're listening to independent media like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro. They're all talking about this.
Not a fan of
And they're like,
Candace
you know
Owens.
what? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, never been Candace Owens' biggest fan. She gives major kind of grifter vibes.
Well, she definitely fits in the category of who I mentioned. Whether you
Yeah, of course. That just like go off on tangents.
Just off the top of my head, who came to mind?
Yep. All right, so
Sean Ryan's another one. He's really good. Talks about this.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are you most looking forward to in the second Trump administration?
I'm looking forward to the wars ending. So, I've got a bet with one of my friends that he will get it all resolved before Christmas.
Okay.
Definitely.
Which Israel or Ukraine?
Both.
Okay.
He's made good progress with both. I think he'll get Ukraine sorted before. I was going to say Thanksgiving, but maybe not. I think Christmas is a good one.
I take some heat on that.
So, definitely looking forward to that, specifically because my country will then have no reason to spend £10 billion. I think we've given, so that's about $13 billion for reference. We've given to Ukraine for no reason whatsoever.
Yep.
We're giving another few billion to Israel as well. It'd be nice not to spend all of our money on that, so that will directly.
I don't get why Israel needs it. They're one of the most advanced countries in that region.
I don't get it either, honestly. I was like,
I like Israel. No anti-Semitism here, but I don't get why they need it.
I like Israel as well. It looks like a great country. If they weren't at war, I would love to visit. If for no other reason, just to see what all the places from the Bible which were mentioned.
Yeah, be awesome.
Yeah, but there's no reason for us to give them all that money.
No.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories about that, links to Jeffrey Epstein being a Mossad agent. So maybe it's like there's a lot of politicians in Congress and a lot of politicians in the Houses of Parliament in the UK who are compromised by Jeffrey Epstein. And say, if you don't give us all this money and support our wars, we're going to expose you to the world. So be like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yep. What do you think happens with Taiwan? Because Trump, I would imagine Xi Jinping is shitting himself.
I think if Kamala Harris won, I will say first that they would have invaded by probably by January. But I think because Trump won, they're like, this guy might actually, he wants peace, and we should respect that, definitely, because if we don't, if we throw that in his face, he will bomb the shit out of us. It's a direct quote from Donald Trump from his last administration. That's what you need. That's how the Cold War ended.
Yep.
That's when Ronald Reagan built up his military, and he had the Star Wars projects, and he was the strongest military in the world. And he's like, and then he also said, a nuclear war can never be won, so it must never be fought. He said that to Gorbachev, and that ended the Cold War. He said, but if you cross us, look at what we've got. We will fuck you up.
Yep. Few fun facts about that. Little kind of off tangents. Reagan was convinced to pursue nuclear disarmament because of a British movie, Threads. Ever seen that one?
I haven't, but I know what it is.
It is the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's not fun.
Is it a small town which gets annihilated
it's
by a nuclear bomb?
Is Sussex a town? Why does that sound familiar?
Sussex, it might be, yes. It's a county, but yeah.
Pretty sure it takes place there. It's a small town that gets affected by global nuclear. Also, China can't actually invade Taiwan in January. The way the tides work, I think the only times it's available in October and April.
Something I didn't think of. Very smart. Smart. But yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening regardless. No. That's it.
No.
And I think China is so much more of economic than military.
So yeah, of course.
So they're going to be like, oh, no, please don't put these 60% tariffs on us. And then he's going to say, well, just be thankful it's not 70%.
Yep, of course.
Because they need our businesses more than we need theirs.
Yep. And back to the tariffs thing. That's one of the kind of main points of contention I've heard from a lot of kind of non-psycho leftists and even a lot of people on the right criticizing Trump's tariffs. One thing they don't mention is Biden kept something like 90% of Trump's tariffs in place.
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's interesting. Did you see Steve Madden, the fashion company? So they have closed out. So they've closed down all their manufacturing in China as of years ago, and they moved it all back to the United States. So I might actually buy some Steve Madden stuff because I don't think it's actually that great quality, but maybe it will be if it's made in America. Yeah. You ever seen Wolf of Wall Street?
I have.
So Steve Madden is the guy who they get the initial public offering from him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Donnie's friend from college. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's possible they're hedging their bets. Maybe they suspect Trump to give some benefits to companies that do that. Yeah. I also am hesitant to say like, oh, the Made in America shit. It's all made by communist union crap. It's either in the U.S. or China, and usually the Chinese stuff is made
I
better.
Get that. So at least it's not made by orphan Chinese slaves.
That's fair. They make good phones,
That's
though.
it. So I'm massively. You can't avoid it these days because so many things are made in China, but you can do your best to avoid it.
Yeah.
Just for the moral reasons. And it annoys me because all these liberals they never say anything about it, so they're quite happy to cry about what is it, racism or slavery, and then say, oh, black people deserve reparations for slavery, white people are so bad for slavery, and then it's happening today, and they're benefiting from it today because they're buying a bunch of cheap shit off Amazon.
Yep, of course.
Made in China.
Reparations, everything the British did to the India, South Africa, Native Americans, they did to the Irish, and they did it first.
Yeah.
Venmo me a couple bucks?
My ancestors on my mother's side are from Ireland, actually.
So so you're in the clear then.
I could cry racism for that and want my
true.
reparations, I guess. Even though on my dad's side we're all English and Welsh.
I've done a lot of research on this, and I guess my family were kind of were the like chiefs of like Osiri, small like kind of kingship there, and we were constantly like trying to betray people and like make alliances with foreign powers. Like we were basically the Lannisters of Game of Thrones. We were the Lannisters of Ireland.
Excellent.
And then William the Conqueror came over and kicked our ass.
Yeah, that happened. That was a pretty big event in our history.
Oh yeah, I've been reading up a lot on that stuff.
So something else I've seen. So you got liberals, lefties losing it, which has been absolutely fantastic. They're sharing
my God!
Reasons, so they're crying about it and they're saying like, "Oh, like, Trump said this." I saw one once a day, which was my favorite, which I think you'll have quite a laugh at. So it's a Wheel of Fortune answer, and it's filled out. Trump is a R-A, and then it's a blank. IST, and she said, "Oh, is it a P or a C? Is it rapist or racist?" I was like, "Okay, so it's not a racist. He's never said anything that's racist. No. Everything that he's accused him of being racist for is taken massively out of context."
Yep.
The best evidence I mentioned on my podcast is the LeBron James video, which he shared, saying, "Look at all these racist things he said." Every single clip is edited.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yep.
And taken massively out of context, and all of the comments highlight that. So you don't have any evidence that he's racist. There's not one thing, there's not one citation from any credible source. You got one story about how in 1979 or 1980 he wouldn't rent one of his apartments out to a black family. And it turned out to be a load of bullshit. You've got nothing. And I looked, but you did support Joe Biden. You had no problem supporting Joe Biden. And he's the man who campaigned to have schools segregated by skin color in the 70s. Quoting, and I'm quoting directly here, "I don't want my children growing up in a racial jungle." That's what he said. But he's not a racist. And let's go for the rapist one. Let's stick with Joe Biden. You ever heard of Tara Reid? Tara Reid works for the Biden administration, not the Biden administration. She worked in the Senate in 1993, and she claims that Joe Biden raped her. And it sounds a lot more credible than E. Jean Carroll's story.
Yeah. Believe all women, right?
Since it's your show, I will let you do the honors about why E. Jean Carroll is a batshit crazy woman who should not.
She's out of her. She named her cat Vagina or something on Anderson Cooper. She said that rape was sexy. Maybe was Cooper or Tapper? I don't remember. Either way, I remember the reaction was funny because she said like, "I think most people think rape is sexy," and his face just goes white as it goes. Like, can go to commercial. He's terrified. I love that video so much.
Trees blue in her spare time with paint. She lives in the middle of the woods. Okay. But people are going to say, "Oh, but that doesn't prove that she's lying." Well, it gives a good character reference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Creates doubt.
Donald Trump was an international celebrity by this time in the mid 90s. Apparently, he walked into a shopping mall and nobody recognized him. There's nobody who could confirm that he was there that day, even though he was an international celebrity.
That's a good point. I'd have never thought of that.
He walked into a changing room and raped her. And apparently she said, "Oh, I still have the dress that I was wearing that day and never washed it." So Alina Hammer, his lawyer, Trump's lawyer, said, "Okay, we want to see the dress." And she said no, basically. Also, if you look at the judge, he was elected on the basis that he would get Trump.
Yep, I saw.
One of Joseph Stalin's men, I can't remember his exact name, I'm a bit rusty on Russian history, I haven't looked into it in a while. One of Joseph Stalin's prosecutors said, "Show me the man and I will show you the crime." That's exactly what he went for. So I don't think there's any...
And they're dropping all that stuff now.
Especially in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty. That's what the justice system is based on. That's what the founding fathers founded the justice system on in 1787.
Yep.
You can't just say, "Oh, he's a rapist." That's ridiculous. There's far more credibility in the Tara Reid story when Joe Biden did it than there was in the Donald Trump one. But none of them said anything about Joe Biden 4 years ago, and that's what pisses me off about that one. So another one I wanted to talk about, Evan, and I want to get your opinion on this. The other one is, he's a climate denier. One of my friend's sisters posted something about, it's great to have a climate change denier in the White House. Well, let's take a look at it, shall we? So he's a climate denier because he opposes the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal.
5 pages.
The Green New Deal is a really long piece of legislation which would cost 93 trillion with a T US dollars to reduce the Earth's temperature over the next how long is it until 2060? 35, whatever it is.
Yeah.
By 2060, by 2 degrees Celsius. Do you think that's worth it? $93 trillion. We are already $35 trillion in debt. But he's a climate denier because he's not doing that. It's not good for the United States in the slightest. So even the revised version would cost $51 trillion. So why on earth would we do that? It's ridiculous, especially when you factor in that China doesn't give a shit about it. They're quite happy to.
India doesn't.
And then you look at it as, he wants to drill oil, so that's really bad for the environment. We still had oil for the past 4 years in the United States. Gas prices went through the roof because we decided that instead of drilling, which is bad for the environment, we were going to drill in Saudi Arabia instead.
Exactly. That's a good point. How is it better for the... Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I think you were going to get onto this exact point. When you drill in Saudi Arabia, it's just as bad for the Earth's carbon footprint as if you drill in America, in Texas.
And then to ship it over here in massive oil tankers.
Put them on big planes and ship them over and fly them over, which is way worse for the environment because you can cut all that stuff out. So I don't know where they're coming from. Unironic, which is very funny, Donald Trump might have been the best president of all time for the environment without even trying, because he didn't do any of this woke shit. He just said, look, we're going to have oil anyway. Let's just drill it in America. We've got loads of liquid gold underneath, as he puts it. The other one's wind turbines as well. He doesn't like wind turbines, and he says we need to get rid of them. No. I agree completely. I think they're ugly and disgusting. They are raping our skylines. The golf course I play at is absolutely beautiful. It's got such a great landscape. And if you look in the distance on the hills, they're filled with these what they called, wind turbines, windmills, whatever they're called. It just ruins it. It's disgusting. Also, it's extremely environmentally unfriendly because you have to drill for the lithium. So you have to drill for the lithium to make these in the first place, and they only last for like 10 years, and then you can't get rid of them, you can't recycle them. And you get all these birds flying into them thinking they're trees, and then they die. So if you go to any of these wind turbines, it's just like a bird graveyard at the bottom with dead birds. So they claim to care about the environment, but they don't give a shit about all the birds dying. And then you got the ones that they put in the ocean, in the sea, which are killing all the whales as well. So I don't know how you can claim to be an environmentalist when you're saying, we need wind and solar. The solar panels are made in China, the shit. And they're made from lithium as well. So they're really bad for the environment. It's all a con.
Yeah.
You're better off. It's better for the environment. It's better for everybody involved if we just drill in America and then we don't have to put it on a plane and then we don't make all these shitty wind turbines. I want them gone.
Yeah, of course.
It's all just virtue signaling bullshit.
Yep. And how they've demonized the literal Henry Ford of the electric car, Elon Musk. They drove him out of California.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that they did.
No.
California voted very red, actually, compared to last year.
Oh, yeah. Well, it always does. It's just San Francisco, LA, San Diego.
I have a friend who is fully convinced if you split California between North and South, you decided to make it 2 states, North California would vote Republican.
Problem is San Francisco would be in the north.
It would be, yeah, but he's saying that there's so many people outside of San Francisco in the north that it would potentially be a Republican state.
I'd like to see that, but that'll never happen.
No, it won't. But, I don't think he needs it. I think he's proven that he doesn't need, the Republican Party doesn't need, anyway, California to win it.
No.
So she can have the 54 electoral college votes because Trump won Arizona and Nevada.
And the popular vote.
Carolina, yes. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, overwhelmingly.
Yep.
For good reason.
Yep. I knew Michigan would come through. We would come through. I said on your show, the Muslims, the large Muslim population in Dearborn is pissed at Kamala Harris. I don't know why.
I agreed with
Yeah.
you completely. I also thought
Yeah.
that so many people in Detroit who were sick of being screwed over by the NAFTA deal is what screwed them over big time.
Yep.
Marquise gave us some interesting information about the Martin Luther King riots, which Detroit did.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yep, remember
in the
that.
50s, that was one of the best places in America to live because of the car manufacturing. But once you took the car manufacturing away, that was it. It was dead. It's a shithole.
Yep. And it's run by Democrats for decades and one socialist, and now it is where it is today.
I think 1962 was the last time that Michigan had a Republican.
Yep.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Now,
so what else have you seen online from lefties losing it, giving illogical explanations for why they think the world is going to end with Donald Trump presidency, even though it didn't last time?
On Reddit, there's quite a few, because I like to stick my neck in the cesspool that is Reddit. There's a lot of people just questioning the fact that they have been in an echo chamber forever, because there are people on Reddit saying, oh, she's going to win a landslide, flip Texas. There's people saying that transgenders need to get guns and stuff like that. None of that's going to amount to anything. But there are people who legitimately believe the world is ending.
Schools.
Exactly. Yep.
Ridiculous.
Exactly.
And they're shooting at schools because of the SSRIs which they're taking, because they are obviously mentally deranged and they need some sort of antidepressants. That's another issue.
Well, are they deranged? Are they deranged because of the antidepressants, or?
So I think they're deranged in the first place, but they're not homicidal and suicidal. I think when they take the SSRIs, they become homicidal and suicidal. My citation is when you read the back of the packet. And it says, side effects may contain homicidal and suicidal behaviors. Well, that's pretty much what happens when you shoot.
It's not a mundane detail, Michael.
Yeah. They all conveniently leave that out when they talk for gun control. Yep. Oh, America needs, especially over here, it pisses me off. I'd so much rather live in America where people actually know what's going on. It's like, America needs to ban guns, they say. Oh, yeah, let's take guns away from the law-abiding citizens who need them to defend themselves when there's 340 million guns in America, but 330 million people. No, how about we stop school shootings by fucking taking away the drugs, which are turning them insane? Yeah, you ever thought about that?
Exactly. Yeah, and because school shootings didn't really happen before Columbine. The biggest mass death of students at a school was in the 20s. It was some pissed off farmer who blew them up. Every school shooting since then has essentially been a copycat of Columbine.
So that was 1999, was it?
Something like that, 90s.
Yeah.
I wasn't born.
So, guns have been in America since its inception, before then, actually.
Yeah. Machine guns were legal before the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Reagan banned machine guns, actually, and there were no school shootings then, was there? So obviously it's not the guns. In fact, if you look at the statistics, and they like to say, oh, the stats don't lie, other countries have banned guns, and that's not, and they don't have any school shootings. Like, if you look at the statistics, when you take away gang violence, and you take away suicides, then guns overwhelmingly are a good thing, because they're able to, because so many people save their lives, and save...
500,000 to 2 million defensive uses a year. Which, to be fair, almost none of those are shots fired. It's just, hey, give me your wallet. No.
Yeah. I do have the statistics saved somewhere, and I do use them, break them out when I need to. I don't have them right. We've only got a limited amount of time, but I could send them to you if you want to include it in a later part.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'd love to read them. I probably have, but...
I'll send them to you after this, because I don't want to waste time when you're...
Yeah.
Okay. So another one I've seen was from, I won't say her name, but it was, I suppose, a friend of mine. She hasn't spoken to me in a long time, despite me trying to get in touch with her. She posted, oh, you all claim... So just for context, so she is a Christian, she says, anyway, I believe her. But she's massively, massively pro-abortion. Not pro-choice, pro-abortion, I would say, because that's the number one issue so I assume she voted for Kamala Harris for that reason, and she's really pissed off at Trump. One, she didn't say anything before the election, which strikes me as a cowardly thing to do. I think you should voice your opinion whilst it still matters. Anyway, she said, oh, all you people who are claiming to be Christians and are treating Trump like God, the Bible specifically says you will have no other gods but me. Okay, we don't treat him like he's God. He's a person. I don't think I've seen anybody treat Trump like he's God, but he is a symbol against the ruling class, which has screwed us over and has screwed Christianity over, and he's a symbol to fight against the evil. So I saw Charlie Kirk say, Jesus isn't on the ballot, but Jezebel is.
Yep.
I think that summed it up perfectly. Kamala Harris is a pro-abortion candidate. He wants to murder children in the womb when they're 6 or 7 months pregnant or beyond. even after birth in some cases. So obviously that's evil. Fentanyl coming across the border and poisoning people is evil. Human trafficking across the border with women and children is evil. Men competing in women's sports and beating the shit out of them, just like we saw in the Olympics earlier this year in the boxing, is evil. So maybe it's a big we see Donald Trump as the figure who stood up for us.
Yep.
We don't see him as God. We see him as an elected official who's going to lead us in the right direction. There's plenty of figures in the Bible who we don't see as God, but we see as great leaders and figures. St. Paul, for example. Constantine, even though he wasn't in the Bible, is a great figure in Christianity.
David had a lot of problems.
Yeah, David did have a lot of problems, but he's a great
figure. There's some Christians that are convinced Trump is the Antichrist.
I don't think they ever have
I've seen that online.
I don't think they have any evidence to back that up whatsoever.
No, it all comes from this one documentary called like Messiah 20. It's stupid.
So somebody said, "Oh, but he cheated on his wife and he did all these things. He was promiscuous back in the day." Yeah, he was. A lot of people were. You know, Russell Brand's another example of somebody who was promiscuous back in the day, but he's turned to Christ since then. Now he's a force for good. I don't know how you can argue against that. So honestly, people change.
Yeah, of course they do.
You know,
I think he's changed a lot since he even got shot.
I definitely think so as well. But like St. Paul murdered Christians. That was what he did. I was like, he executed Christians, and then Christ said, "Why are you persecuting me?" in a vision to him. And then he changed completely, and now he's besides Christ, he is the most important figure in the Bible, at least in the New Testament, anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you count God, of course, yeah.
Well, geez, same thing. Trinity, it's a whole big thing. Yep. All right, I forgot what point I was just about to make, but
I think
what else you got for us?
So we've covered the economy. When people say, "Oh, tariffs are going to ruin the economy," they're not actually. They're going to be fantastic. So somebody got into an argument with me. This is a person who is from England, so obviously she's not well educated on what's going on in American politics. She just consumes the legacy media, which is under the influence of Operation Mockingbird. I suggest you look that up because it is the most important document which has been declassified in the JFK files as of yet. So she said, Republicans have blocked aid to Gaza. I know because I heard this on the legacy media. Yeah, okay. So Republicans have blocked aid to Gaza. In what bill did that get blocked? Was it a bill where they had about 500 pages and in it they had to let in a bunch of illegal immigrants and they had to give money to Ukraine? Because that's what happens. Maybe if it was just one piece of legislation, one piece of paper where it says money to Gaza, yes or no, this much money here, maybe it would have got passed. But the fact that they fucking put a bunch of other shit in it makes it so people don't.
And that's the thing. I don't know how this works over in the UK if this happens, but in the US you'll have a bill called like for example, the Don't Eat Puppies bill. It'll go through Congress, the House, and Senate almost unanimously. I don't know why they do this. Then it goes back and they say, okay, we'll have $1 billion for not eating puppies, then $2 billion for circumcising alligators. And they say, no, give all the money to not eating puppies. And most Republicans will still vote for it because they know what the media will do. But the select cadre who won't get all this shit thrown at them like, oh, you want to eat puppies. You think it should be okay to eat puppies. It's not that. All the money should go to it. That was the thing with the border bill. It wasn't a border bill. It was a Ukraine-Israel bill.
Yeah, that is exactly it, isn't it? The border bill where it says, oh, Trump's the one who stopped us from having a secure border. No, if you look at the bill, it was complete bullshit where they said, we still have to let X amount of illegal immigrants into the country. We can't just stop all of them coming in. We also, completely unrelated, we have to give another $20 billion to Ukraine. I'm pretty sure that was in there as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
So why on earth would we sign off on that? Why can't you just be transparent with the people instead of saying, oh, they blocked this bill, because that's what happens.
Yep.
And people in this country especially, they think they know what's going on because they listen, I listened to a BBC reporter who said this. The BBC
government-funded media.
Is a part of Operation Mockingbird, you fucking idiots.
Yep. It's like people who listen to NPR here, and I argue with this tech guy all the time. It's like, you are listening to government-funded media, and you don't see a problem with that at all.
So, government-funded media is dead. And I think independent media is going to replace it forevermore. They're dead.
Of course. And the right absolutely dominates that because of Rush Limbaugh. The left has not been able to copy that at all since him. He was really kind of the first in that sort of podcast space.
He was a great man. I liked him when he was on Family Guy and he voiced himself.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
Seth
remember the
MacFarlane did
good
a
old
lot of stuff
days
like that
when,
with
yeah,
conservatives.
remember the good old days when liberals and conservatives could just have a laugh and a joke without
Yeah.
each other Nazis or Hitler. That
Yeah.
was the good old days. Speaking
It
of
was fun.
calling Republicans and Nazis, the Jews overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, didn't they?
Yeah. You know
Considering
who
he's
else did?
privileged
Native
Hitler.
Americans.
Yep.
64%. That's insane.
Black men voted for Donald Trump as well in bigger
Yep.
ways. Well, yeah.
Yep.
Married women overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. White women, 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump, even though they said, all women need to vote for Kamala for reproductive rights. No,
Yep.
maybe they don't actually care about murdering their children in the womb. Maybe they actually care about...
Turns out grocery prices matter more.
Yeah, of course they do. So,
I think black women, though, broke like 92% for Kamala.
What was that?
I think black women broke like 92% for Kamala or
I
something.
can't say I'm surprised. It's a good thing Trump won for them because they would have been replaced by illegal immigrants. Marquise talked about that a lot on my show, which was great. So the other one I've seen from the same girl who who said that you treat Trump like he's God, which is there's no claim for that at all. Trump tried to overthrow the government when he lost, and Kamala didn't. Hillary didn't either. And you talk about women being emotional. Okay, Trump did not try to overthrow the government. He used his First Amendment right to arrange a protest to assembly and said, go and peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
To send it back to the States, not even to install him.
Yeah. He just he challenged the election results. He has every right to do so because there was a lot of...
Hillary also did.
There was a lot of fishy stuff going on. Yeah, she did. Yep. The difference is Trump was in office at the time, so I think that's why they blow it out of proportion. Yeah. Hillary was not in office. Trump offered to have 10,000 National Guard troops securing the Capitol building to make sure that didn't happen. Nancy Pelosi said, no, we don't want the National Guard to be there. And he couldn't just force them to be there anyway because I believe that would be a violation of the Third Amendment of the Constitution.
Yep.
Yes, so when you know all that information, maybe you think, oh, he didn't try to overthrow the government at all. In fact, he wanted the Capitol to be safe. He just organised a protest, which he had every right to do. So January 6th has been a load of bullshit. We also got the tapes from Kevin McCarthy, which proved that people were just escorted inside the building and walked into the chamber themselves and were escorted there. It wasn't an insurrection. None of them were armed. Nobody tried to overthrow the government. There was one person who died that day, and it was Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a Capitol police officer who hit
with her hands up too.
Yeah, who hid a gun in the bathroom, and then he took that gun out of the bathroom and shot her point blank. As far as I'm concerned, he is a murderer.
Yep.
Far more than Derek Chauvin was.
Yep, and that's the thing. The most armed portion of the population didn't bring a single gun to overthrow the government. They were just going to World War Z it.
Yep, so that is a baseless claim right there. Basically, everything is going to be so much better now that Donald Trump is the president. None of the accusations that you're throwing at him stuck because they're all lies.
Yes.
And none of your reasons for being unhappy are actually valid.
Yep.
So I want to share a story with you actually whilst we've still got time.
Go ahead.
So I when I first came to the US for college, it was January 2018. So previously in October of 2016, so it was about a month before the US election between Trump and Hillary, I was in one of my business classes, and I was like, I kind of liked Trump, but I didn't really understand enough about US politics at the time.
Yeah.
So my teacher just explained internationally, it was my business class, so he just explained, if Trump wins, this is what he wants to do. If Hillary wins, this is what she wants to do in terms of international business and trade. No bias to it whatsoever, just the facts. And I was like, I massively agree with what Trump wants to do with these tariffs and bring manufacturing back to America. I was like, I massively agree with that. So after that, I was like, I wonder what else I agree with. So I looked into it, and it turned out I agreed with most of the things he had to say. He wasn't a racist because I listened to some of the speeches. I was like, I'm glad he won. I didn't expect him to. But I think most people I spoke to, I kind of kept it to myself. But most people were respectable when I had that conversation with. I was going out with a girl who was very left-wing and hated him at the time, so I just didn't talk to her about it. When she did bring up US politics, I kind of just changed the topic. So I went to America expecting it to be like everybody has their own opinion because, you're allowed to have your own opinion and everybody can be friends about it. But I went out with this girl for a week or 2 weeks maybe. And she was like very left wing, and she told me she was very left wing. But at the time, I was like, that's not a big deal. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I was sat in the cafe in college, and there weren't that many people there. I was sat across from two of her friends, and I was sat next to the girl I was going out with. And one of the people across the table asked me who would I have voted for in the 2016 election. I said Donald Trump, and before I could explain why I would have voted for Donald Trump, the girl I was going out with, who sat next to me, slapped me across the face, point blank.
Holy crap!
Slapped me across the face. And I was like,
Good
what
Lord.
the hell? And I was like, imagine if the roles were reversed, and if I asked her, who did you vote for in 2016? She said Hillary Clinton, and I just backhanded her across the face. I would have been kicked out of the country.
Goodness.
Forget school, I would have been kicked out of the country. But nothing happened after that. People saw it, and nobody did a thing. And
That's insane.
So that is my dark origin story of why I hate liberals with passion. Because one of them fucking assaulted me in public.
My God. Did you do anything about it? Like call campus security?
I mean, I told a few of my friends, and and they were like, oh well, yeah, liberals are crazy, aren't they? I was like, no, I don't think you understand how serious this is. She just assaulted me in front of everybody.
My God.
Oh yeah, but you're a big, strong football player. You're like 6'4", and she's what, 5'6".
Doesn't matter.
So I was like, oh, it didn't hurt, did it? I was like, well, it was a bit of a shock, really, because she's like. After that, I was like, okay, I fucking hate liberals. And I don't want to be friends with any of them, and I'm never going to go out with a liberal ever again. They're disgusting human beings. So that's my dark origin story. That's how I became an ultra right-wing conservative who actively supported Donald Trump. And what pisses me off? What pisses me off when I talk to people, so there's a few girls I've talked to over here, and I had somewhat relationships with, and I tell them that story. The ones who call themselves feminists, which means equality for both genders, supposedly, I tell them that story, and they're like, why do you like Trump? Instead of, oh my God, I can't believe she slapped you across the face. That's secondary to them. So that goes to show that they're all frauds. They're all frauds.
Yep. When you demonize and humanize people like that and call them Nazis, racists, it justifies doing just about anything to them. So if you're a Nazi, why wouldn't she slap you? Why wouldn't she even kill you?
Why couldn't we just have a normal conversation about it? So, we don't like Trump. Would you have voted for him? And I would have said, because my business teacher, when I was 18, explained it all to us. And I was like, I prefer to have tariffs so we can bring manufacturing jobs back to America. And it's kind of evolved since then. I've read a lot, as you know, I've read like 7 or 8 books about the Kennedy assassination, and I've come to the conclusion it was definitely the CIA that did it. And he talks about the enemy from within, which Kamala Harris likes to take out of context. The enemy from within is title of Robert F. Kennedy's book, RFK Sr., and it's about the mafia.
I didn't even know that.
And it's about how J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, was in cahoots with the mafia, and then he needed to be taken down. So yeah, there's nothing suspicious about that there, is there? The enemy from within is the CIA and the FBI, and they need to be taken out. And I was massively in favor of when he said we need to drain the swamp. We need to do it. And I was like, well, he didn't really know what the swamp was 4 years ago. He knows now that it's the FBI and the CIA. And I was like, the people have a right to see these files, the JFK files. It's something which I've become a little bit obsessed with, actually.
Yeah.
And
do you think he will release them?
Yes, I do. I think day one he's going to, actually, especially since he's got RFK on his side. He's got emotional investment.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
The thing is, those files belong to we the people. They don't belong to the government.
Of course they do.
The people have the right to see them. They don't belong to these federal agencies.
What do you think the reaction would be from the American people if it turns out like everything you think about it is true?
I thought about
that exact scenario.
I had a conversation with Marquise about this. It was the podcast I did back in the summer. He said there's a difference between knowing, like we do, and it being displayed out in front of you, like you're right, 100% this happened. Because people can just say, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory, uneducated, and without taking a guess. And it's like most people, they say, yeah, we think that the CIA did it. But there's a difference between thinking it and being 99% sure and being 100% sure. I think it would just kill all trust in the FBI and the CIA, and it'd just be even more calls than there are to completely shut it down, or at least reform it.
I'm a little more. Yep.
So
I'm a little more pessimistic than that.
Okay.
Because I think we all know the really messed up things they've done, like overthrowing governments, attempting to slaughter people in Florida with was it Operation Northwoods. I think it'd be one of those things. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Brush it under the rug. Everyone forgets about it. There's a Wikipedia page. That's it.
No, I think a lot of people would be in uproar about it, to be honest with you. I think either that or they try and keep it so quiet. But because Elon Musk has bought Twitter, I think so many people are going to see it. There's going to be uproar about it. The other one's MK Ultra, and that's linked to the Kennedy assassination as well. Because Jack Ruby, who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, was first of all, he was an FBI informant. He was massively connected to the agencies. Second of all, he was MK Ultra'd by Dr. Jolly West, who worked for the CIA, part of the MK Ultra program. Previously, he was perfectly sane. Jolly West went to see him, and then he became mentally insane, and it looks like he was suffering from the effects of what we now know as LSD use. So basically, the CIA used a shit ton of LSD, put them in made a cocktail of drugs, and gave them to people in order to brainwash them. And he did that. There's this book called Chaos. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. No.
So Chaos by Tom O'Neill. It's a really big.
Tom O'Neill. Him I've heard of.
This book here, Chaos by Tom O'Neill. So it's about how it's called Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. It's all about how
I'll throw that on my list.
Charles Manson was a CIA asset, and he was the biggest member of the MK Ultra. So basically, Charles Manson was able to get all these hippies to do horrendous things like murder Sharon Tate and all the people in her house, but because he was able to give them a cocktail full of LSD and drugs which brainwashed them. And it was all just an experiment to see if it would work.
Huh. I did not know about that, but I believe it.
Well, it's a good book. I'd recommend reading it. So
I'll throw it on my list.
Not to spoil the ending for you, but it's 20 years of research and he still hasn't found everything out. So he's, I better get this book out before I die. Release the information I've got now. So that's another thing. Like we need to hold the three-letter agencies accountable to stay on topic for when Trump comes in. That was a big talking point of this election campaign as well.
Yeah. Yep. Of course. And I think he has learned quite a lot. How do I describe this? He made a lot of mistakes in not 2020, the 2016 after that election that Ron DeSantis also made while running. He listened to a lot of establishment Republicans, did a lot of the wrong things. I think he's out for blood now, and I think he's a lot more informed.
So on election night, I was flicking between a few podcasts and like live streams. So Tucker Carlson was at Mar-a-Lago and he was interviewing all the people who were at Mar-a-Lago. One of the interesting ones, Eric Trump, was interviewed. He said, in 2016, we ran on draining the swamp in the deep state. And Eric Trump said, we genuinely thought that the deep state was Nancy Pelosi and the people who've been in government for 50 plus years, and we just get rid of them. We put term limits in Congress, which Trump has said he's going to do. He's going to put term limits for congressmen and women.
Yeah, I don't believe on that one. People have been trying that for years.
He basically said if we get rid of them, then we're good. And then they quickly learned that, actually, it's the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Justice. It goes so much deeper than we actually realize, and there's no way we can do this in 4 years completely unprepared for it. Now, maybe one of the good things about him not winning the 2020 election, not officially anyway, was that he had 4 years to regroup and plan how do we do this, because we know exactly what we're up against now. Also, this time around, he's got Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy on his team as well, whereas if he won in 2020, it would have been just Trump, a bull in a china shop against everybody else.
Yep.
This time, he's got the team behind him that can actually do it.
Yep. I will. One question. Looks like we're running out of time. Who do you right now? Who do you think Republicans should run in 2028?
I think J.D. Vance has got to be the rightful heir to it since he's the president. Since he's going to be up front, seeing everything in person. That doesn't necessarily mean I like him the best. I mean, there's plenty of other good candidates, but I do think J.D. Vance. And I think the real question should be who's J.D. Vance's vice president going to be? I would say Vivek.
Vivek or my thing is I think Tulsi Gabbard for president just because I find the optics of having the first woman president be a Republican hilarious.
So
after
do I
Trump
as well,
beat two of them.
You know what's funny over here?
It's purely comedy.
We have had in the UK we've had we've had 3 female prime ministers. Every single one of them has been a conservative. Now there's one of them, Margaret Thatcher. I think was fantastic. The other two I don't think at all. But nonetheless, that is a fact. They're all conservative.
Yep. It's kind of a similar thing over here. The first woman elected Congress was conservative. I think the first woman in the Supreme Court was conservative. I just lisped there.
Right,
What was that about?
yep.
And the first chief of staff, Trump just made a woman conservative.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent. A lot of self-hating women.
It's a bit strange for a misogynist to put a woman as chief of staff.
Yes.
You mentioned at the start. Actually, I just realised whilst we were off camera, how's Carrie Lake doing? I think she's closing in. She's got a very good chance of potentially pulling it back, but it's a long shot. I think she's only about.
Thank God.
She's only about 45,000 votes away from pulling it off.
If she doesn't win, we need to get rid of her.
I agree, actually, but
the haircut.
I know you don't like her. I do like her. I like how she stands up to the fake news because she was a part of the news. I read a book and it really changed my opinion on her. I think she's definitely a force for good. Whether she can win a campaign or win an election or not, that is to be confirmed. She's made a lot of ground, and there's still a lot of votes to count.
Yeah.
If she can pull,
like I said, I hope she wins. Yep.
She can pull 50.
But if she doesn't, she just needs to, open a bike shop or something.
I think she'd make a great press secretary, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's pretty. Honestly, wow, I didn't even think about that. That'd be.
Well, you see how she stands
really
up to the media. My favorite one was when she was running for governor. She's the CNN journalist came up to her and said, "Oh, can we do an interview?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll do an interview as long as it airs on CNN Plus. Is that still running?" No, it's not because it's propaganda. People don't like it.
Ended after like a month. That was hilarious. Chris Wallace left Fox News just to run that crap.
Yeah. The best suggestion I've seen for press secretary, Candace Owens said on her show that Alex Jones should be the press secretary.
I think we need a stand-up comedian to do it. Just someone who's like amazing at just hitting hecklers. Like I think if he got Bill Burr, Bill Burr is like kind of a really centrist, left-leaning guy. But if he got Bill Burr to be his press secretary, it'd be fantastic.
How about Tony Hinchcliffe?
Oh my God! Or you know who Nick DiPaolo is?
Yes, I do know Nick DiPaolo. Yeah.
He would be the single great, and Crowder does kind of skits where he is like that. He would be the greatest press secretary ever. Just someone who can just snap at people.
I like all these suggestions, but I guarantee whoever it is, it will be an upgrade over Cringe Jean-Pierre. That's the self-proclaimed historical figure, which I thought was the funniest quote from the entire Biden administration. She said on an interview, "I am a historical figure because I'm the first black lesbian press secretary." I was like, yeah, you only got the job because you were a black lesbian. I think you'll find
you're a black lesbian.
You're illiterate, actually. You're a retard.
Yeah. The first press secretary to be missing a chromosome too. Is it missing or too many? I don't remember. She's retarded is the joke, people. You understand. All right. I think that just about does it. Stefan, do you have anything to plug for us?
Yeah, so if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I've lost about 100 followers recently, so I could do with building that up. Stefan J. Collins 88. That's not the year I was born. That is my jersey number in football, or it was. Twitter is at Stefan Collins 88, capital S, capital C. YouTube is the 50-yard line. I could do with building my subscribers up on there if you're interested. I haven't put a lot of content up on there because I'm actually writing a book at the moment, so I'm focusing all my energy on that. I haven't
really.
Yeah. Your brother's helped.
Mind telling us what it's about?
It's about so I haven't picked an official title for it yet, so it's just titled "How to Play College Sports in the US as an International Student." So I'm going to come up with a much better title than that, but yeah, I've got a chapter on it, which I'm going to write a chapter about. First of all, about the American diet, and I'm going to quote Kelly and Casey Means about how seed oils are poison in it, and you can get good food from Whole Foods and good ranchers, and I strongly suggest that they buy them from there, and American produced beef instead of the poison which you buy at the supermarket. And I'm also thinking about writing a chapter about college liberals, and I'm going to include that story about how I got slapped by that girl. And
that'd be a great one.
Yeah, lefties losing it.
Oh God!
So
all right,
I think all that probably enjoy it. Yeah.
I will. Let me know when you get that done. I'll have you back on. Talk about
So
that.
I'm aiming to get it done by summer next year. So I think I've interviewed pretty much everybody who I want to interview. I just need to write it now, which is the most time-consuming part.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so all of that will be in the description. That is it. Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, not TikTok anymore since that will be banned in the US in February, at UnorthoBros. Go watch us on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble, the Unorthodox Podcast. Give money to the show if you want to at Evan-Brennan-10 on Venmo. You got music you produce, you got stand-up. Submit that to the show. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Celebrate this historic win. Stefan, we will see you later. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Much appreciated, Evan. Anytime. It's always a pleasure.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it unorthodox. I will see you next week. Have a good one.
That was great. Enjoyed that. I think sometimes it's better when you just let it flow like a normal conversation. Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna. I've just under the what do I say? I'm just thinking now. I'm just throwing all the precautions out of the window now because I'm already cancelled. So what's the point? I might as well just say exactly what. Yeah, I was like, everybody's already unfollowed Instagram. Everybody's already called me a racist. Thank God I'm self-employed because I can't fire myself, can I? I was like, oh, I want you to lose your job. I'm hardly going to fire myself, am I? I've got my own HR department. I think, yeah. No, I think you're good. I think you're fine. Yeah, yeah, you'll be fine. Looking forward to it. I'll definitely share this one on all my socials. So the only one I didn't share was the one where I was scared that I would the riots. Yeah, I was like, look, people have actually been put in prison for this. So I'm like, well, I don't want to go to prison. It was like not before Trump wins the election. And like, yeah. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Say bye. So it was 2016.